Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 121 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I'm joined by, how do I put this one? The man who can't be blocked. Block!
What's going on, man? Low under the weather. It's been an interesting week, man. So I've been crazy busy. A lot of stuff I've been covering and doing, and then, you know,
we'll be talking about that.
We'll be talking about, you know what I'm saying? And then a little under the weather may have made things worse. So excuse me while I battle a cold and some coughs and sneezes and stuff like that. And Microsoft ain't making my job easier today with my sickness.
Happy Wednesday, though. You know, they
Happy
did it again.
Wednesday.
They waited for the Duke's Day.
They waited for us. They waited for us.
They waited for the Duke's Day.
How have you been? A lot going on with you. What's going on with you?
A lot going on with me. I'm doing as good as I can, but just got my Jedi Survivor review out, and so moving on to what I hope will be my Redfall review. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, they're making us wait, but we'll see. And otherwise, kind of the final stretch there for that review gauntlet. We had a lot going on there, but it was a ton of fun. You know, a lot of good games back to back to back. You know, got to review Dead Island 2, which was also fantastic, and we'll talk extensively about Jedi Survivor today because the embargo is up, and by the time free feed listeners are hearing the game will be out, so you'll be able to enjoy it and listen to some of our thoughts on it. But thank you everyone so much for tuning in to Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. We appreciate you. We're again seeing a lot of engagement with our show, and I just can't thank you all enough. It really does lift our weeks up, seeing the thing we've been pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into for a while now, with its ups and downs collectively, is now riding a high during some of the darkest times of Xbox as a brand, which is kind of funny to see. But we appreciate you all tuning in, because to me, it says that we're doing something right if there's nothing but kind of bad news surrounding the brand and people are still tuning in. So we appreciate you spending some of your morning, your afternoon, your evening, your night with us. Just thank you for being here.
You got me saying that like we walked into the funeral home. So I just appreciate you coming here for the viewing. You could have been anywhere, but you're here rocking with us. That was wild funny the way you said that. Continue.
I really did paint a pretty grim scenario there, but that's what it feels like right now. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but it certainly feels that way. We got a comment last week, and it was really interesting. They said, why does LSM even bother having an Xbox podcast? I have an Xbox, but nothing's going on here. So people are calling for the end of us now. Like,
damn,
we're the next thing to get
blocked.
They want us blocked?
Damn,
yeah.
Yo.
They want us blocked,
calls, man. Yes, sir.
Anyway, we thank you for being here at the Defining Duke Funeral Home. Early access for this show goes live on Thursdays over at patreon.com/laststandmedia. And so you can go ahead and support us over there. Otherwise, free feeds like Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, other audio services, as well as YouTube on Sunday at the Last Stand Media YouTube channel. Otherwise, if you're a patron, you'll have just got our latest DDU, which was episode 109. We just called it a big fat mailbag. It's almost a 2-hour episode of me and Cog just answering your burning questions. And we get into all things like, what do Cog and I love about each other? We talk about our top 5 games of all time. We talk about sports. We just talk about everything we talk about here, but pretty much in just extended detail, no real limits. We talk about books, all that fun stuff. So it's a good time. But go ahead and check that out if you are a patron. But if you're not, the way we try to get you involved with the show, if you're a scallywag, a freeloader, just leeching off the back of our content saying, well, we're not going to support you guys. It's just a good show. That's about it. We're fine with that. We're trying to grow. We welcome you to write reviews on the audio side of things for our podcast to help us grow. And if you look just very plainly at our numbers, you'll see if you look at the start of the year versus now, the Dukes are doing quite well. You know, are we exploding? Not necessarily, but we're consistently hitting a higher cadence now compared to our usual range. We're exceeding it. And that's thanks to things like this. Your participation truly does matter. So again, I know I badger you all with it weekly, but look, it's working. So what? I'm the boss who's sweating you right now. It's like, come on, do your job. Look, profits are up.
Profits are up, man. Revenue.
Yes. All right, we got a nice handful of reviews here. There's a name here that we'll get to it. All right, let's start off with Lumpy Johnson 007.
Whoa.
That's not the name. No, there's one in here.
Wow,
no, that's not it. That's close though.
Okay, that was close.
Calls us the #1 Xbox podcast, saying they love the passion for gaming that both Maddie and Cog have. I always feel a lot more positive and happy after listening to these two every week. Hey, that's awesome.
That's dope.
We're lifting up weeks, man.
That's dope.
We know Xbox ain't doing that, so you're welcome. All right, let's talk with James K. the Third. Mr. Matty prays to Ire. Oh yeah, okay, I see what he's doing here. Mr. Matty prays to Lord Cognito. This is just an amazing Xbox podcast. If you're an Xbox fan or just a fan of video games in general, I highly recommend you check out this informational podcast. I've never owned an Xbox console, but Matty and Cog have such wonderful chemistry, and despite being a PlayStation gamer, I find their Xbox news to be worth my time. Thank you guys for this awesome show.
Appreciate it. That is dope.
Your favorite kind of comment.
I love when I hear that. Yo, I don't even got one, but I gotta listen to y'all. That's dope.
Yes, sir. Gabriel SG 117. The crazy name's the one after this one. Maddie and Cog are the best podcast duos around. Despite Xbox fumbling the ball, they always deliver quality content and give a great overview of the gaming landscape. Cog may ruin your life by talking you into playing Destiny, and Maddie may often tell you he is making a game, but these boys are fantastic, and I could not recommend them enough. Thank you, Gabriel. We appreciate that familiarity with both
Gabriel.
of us.
Much love. Much love. That's a listener.
All right, this next one. Next one's this one needs to get back in the pocket. Nick suck dick.
It is. Yeah. He's real direct with it. Straight to business. We got you.
This isn't just. How do you explain that? Like, well, what's your Apple podcast name, bro? It's Nick suck dick. Like, yeah. So, okay.
So he's about his business. Listen, direct, live and direct with it, man.
There you go.
Straightforward. No foreplay. There it is.
Don't hide it. Let people know who you are, man. That's what it's all about. That's the world we live in.
I'm sorry. Continue. That was hilarious.
He writes, "This isn't just a great Xbox podcast. It's just a good podcast in general. The chemistry is unmatched, and they care more about the games rather than the platform, which is a breath of fresh air. I also appreciate how they constantly talk about health as wealth. I now live by this, and my life has been much better since." See? Look at that. Yeah. Maybe that explains his name a little bit.
In between the activities, he's keeping himself up.
He's doing the mixed suck.
Yo!
So we got a couple more
MSD.
Here. Yeah, MSD.
MSD, that's my guy right there.
All right, I think we got a couple more here. I'm trying to remember. I should write down the last one that we do, but I'll read a couple more here. Kadir Returns writes, "I don't even have an Xbox, but these two always keep me in touch with Xbox, but also gaming news in general. They're good dudes with great insights and positive vibes, which is rare in game podcasts, which are focused on a specific game platform. Keep up the great work." I believe that one we did read. Okay, that's the last one. That's the last one. Can't confirm. So thank you for the love, everyone. Shout out to MSD. We appreciate you.
Keep doing what you do, babies.
Yeah, baby. Let's go. Let's talk with some of the patrons now.
Let's get
Chris Galar writes in and issues a correction to me. "Howdy Dukes, with much love and respect, I have a correction for Maddie. Long in the tooth means old, as in someone who has lived a long time. It does not mean something that has gone on for too long or overstayed its welcome. Thanks, and have an awesome day." Now, my idiom game I've learned as I write for my game, I've learned, is sometimes a little weak. And I got to strengthen that up, right? That's where the beauty of the editing process is. But what I will say is Ben Smith likes to hang us out to dry sometimes. And I'm just kidding. It's not Ben. Ben doesn't. It's me being a moron.
But it's a good way Ben has to give us some really good context.
Yeah, he does help us.
Things. So salute to Ben. Yeah, got some stuff coming.
No, this is not me though. I appreciate it, Chris, because I'm sure for you don't want to cringe about listening to me. You want to be proud of the show you listen to and not feel like you're losing a couple of IQ points. And for me personally, as someone who likes to try to at least sound intelligent, me saying long in the tooth correctly is much appreciated on both ends. So thank you, Chris, for writing in. And with that, Cog, are we ready for some gaming news, sir?
Let's get it, man. We got some Grounded news.
Yes, we do. Let's start off with that. Grounded update 1.2 is here. So the support for the game is continuing after its 1.0 launch. They write, the Grounded team is excited to bring update 1.2 to the community today. Rightfully titled the Super Duper Update, this massive update brings with it many quality of life changes, more than 100 new items to craft, a brand new base coziness feature, and a terrifying new wasp. Get ready to buzz with excitement as wasps invade the yard. Battle with wasps and drones that guard their mini hives across the upper yard. That's already a dangerous place. What the hell are they doing in Obsidian?
Upper yard is wild.
Yeah, man. They say, keep your eyes peeled for the hidden main nest as well, end quote. So, Cog, is this, you got your shirt on. This is your number one draft pick. Is it time to go back to the backyard? Yeah,
it's time, man. I tell people all the time, like, Grounded is a phenomenal game. And I was wanting an excuse to get back in there. I'll be honest, I love that game. And I know me and you had a discussion at one point. I forgot which it was, a DDU. We were talking about, being that there was kind of like this pleasant surprise for them. Do they do the DLC? Do they do something? Now, obviously, this is an update. I'm curious. I'm curious now, if they continue to do something with the title, or is it all hands on deck for 2 after this? So I want to know what happens. But yeah, I definitely will check it out. The Wasp was wild crazy. Yes. And yeah, I got people, shout out to my British folk and my UK peeps that play this. They just started playing it. And I was like, yeah, I'll jump in this server with them. So I'm going to be rocking out with them as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I will hop back in right away. I haven't beat the base game yet because you get to that upper yard and I had a squad with me, man, but my squad dropped out. Now, it's on me. I can come in and finish the job, right? I can finish the story. But with Grounded, man, I feel like you need that team when you're in that late stage. Yeah. That upper yard is no joke, man.
Facts.
They will run you down with some of the most nastiest insects and kill you constantly unless you have a squad.
You're right. Right. Yeah, I learned the hard way. Yeah, solo gameplay it's kind of rough for that yard.
Yeah, so, I remember that. Yeah, you started there.
Yeah,
I was like,
started solo.
Get a buddy in.
Once you got to a certain point, I was like, I'm just not skilled enough crafting wise, dolo, to do it all by myself. So I know there's a deficiency on me for the crafting guys, but yeah, it's a great game. I'm gonna get back.
Let's talk about Age of Empires, another little first party studio here for Xbox World's Edge. It was announced this week that the first Age of Empires game is returning in a unique way. Set as an expansion pack for Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, the new DLC showed off the original game, which will also add 17 Age of Empires civilizations to the recently released remaster. You know what I wish, man? That Xbox would tackle Fallout with the same energy they do Age of Empires, because that makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? I mean, do people mark out for this stuff? Do they really?
Now, here's the thing. Corporate card now. Corporate card, got to tell you, in certain regions, this is a moneymaker for them.
Really?
As crazy as it sounds, there's certain
they support enough to just suggest that.
Yeah, there's 2 games, I believe it's this and look at Minecraft. Bro, you'll be surprised how much revenue they really cake it out off of these games. The games will be like...
Right, with that PC push too.
And other regions. I'm telling you, there's certain regions that love these games. And I think someone just came out with a stat on Minecraft as far as like the splits on Switch and in Japan. And it was like 90% of they are caking up off of Minecraft. You'd be surprised what Xbox is getting a lot of the revenue from sometimes, as far as what games actually do it versus what the hardcore like. It's an interesting disparity.
I just wanted to complain, man. That's all I want.
See, you represent my younger gamer that's like,
is it like talking to Kid You right now? Like listen, Young Cog.
Young Cog is like, bro, I don't care about that joint. Like, why they keep updating this? Where's the update for Fallout? That's why I love doing a podcast. And you represent younger Cog. That's where my mind. And trust me, I fight myself all the time. Like, more Age of Empires, dude.
I think Xbox, if we could say they're the king of anything, they're the king of the popular, not sexy games. Sea of Thieves, Age of Empires. Minecraft, I think, would just be an anomaly in the sense that, like, it is a sexy game, if you will, like a very popular title, well known. but for like a different age demographic, right? But like you got PlayStation out here with these mature storytelling characters. It's just light and day difference, but it's a good point, right? How vastly different these platforms truly are.
They are vastly different. You're absolutely right.
Anyway, for this expansion, is this anything that calls your name? Because I haven't hopped into Age of Empire 2 Definitive Edition because, quite frankly, like after I played 4 and then Legends, it's just solidified. I'm like, this is a great genre that I may not just be fully built for yet. Maybe down the stretch, but I don't know if I'm going to hop into Definitive Edition at all, and subsequently the first game. But I know you played this back when it came out in February.
I actually really liked it. I was surprised how much I liked it. And the control scheme, first of all, RTS is not usually my thing. The control scheme, the way they got me into it was very intuitive. Actually, one of the best I've ever seen on controller. And I will say this is a game that if COG's going to do it, screams portable, screams on the go.
We love that.
I may know of places. That might fit. We'll talk about that later.
We will. Dead Island 2. We just talked about that very briefly today. We talked about it extensively last episode. I really like this game a lot. And it seems there was a lot of excitement for it as it took just 3 days to surpass 1 million copies sold. Now, I got to say, man, this is surprising. Like, I think Dead Island's great. I always had love for the series. And 2 was in development for so long that you had to wonder what it would do when it came out the gates. But I mean, kudos for sticking with it because I think it was worth it in the terms of a quality product. And now that the business is paying off, people are buying it in mass. This is wonderful to see. Were you as surprised as I was?
Very surprised. Yeah, this is huge. And look, shout out to Embracer too. They needed a win. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They needed a win after what was it, Saints Row?
Yeah.
And then here's the other thing. This is such a big win in a sense for the studio because the studio was through development hell and it changed hands. And usually those
3
stories
different times, technically 4 if you start off with
4 different. This game normally would have been canceled. You know, for it to survive, persevere, and end up being good, not only graphically. Remember, you were telling me like, and how visceral it is. People are taken to it. So this is a huge W. I want to salute to the team. Like normally stories like this don't end well. It'll always be the game ends up being trash. It's bad. How, crazy bugs. How did this happen? Because it changed hands so much. But I was very impressed to see graphically and the polish for the most part of the game. Now, it's not Dying Light or anything like that as far as changing the genre, but good old 360 PS3 type
There's
energy.
A place for that, man. This type of game, Evil West, I think developers are going to start to wake up and smell the roses that people want these types of games. And while, like, for example, my game of the year last year was A Plague Tale Requiem. Like, there is a place for that high fidelity, action-packed, high-budget product. Like, don't get me wrong, but people want this style of game. Like, the 360 PS3 generation boomed for a reason, and it wasn't just because it happened. Like, the style of game felt like video gamey enough to be a PS2 game, but with a higher budget. And, like, that's what I think encapsulates video games so well, where you could play dozens of games a year because they weren't lifetime commitments. They weren't prison sentences. They were video games. And I got to say, Dead Island 2 to me is like, I'm biased towards these games at this point, not because I don't got time for open world, but like, to me, it shows that the developer, when they make the game, you got to start off with like, what audience are we shooting for? And they understand, it's competitive time. Let's not shoot for this 50 plus hour game. Let's make a nice, it took me like 10 hours to beat the story. And I just went back and kept exploring the world and just had as much fun as I wanted. And I can just go when I want. And there's that sense of completion is so rare in games nowadays, honestly, that I think that's what people are looking for. Like something you can buy and finish.
Yes.
And so kudos to them for supporting that type of game and also for finding success in a really competitive time.
Agreed. No, absolutely. It's a big win.
Who hasn't had trouble competing is From Software. And looks like we won't have to wait too long for their next game, which I'm curious how this one does. According to Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, we won't have to wait long for From Software's next title, as Armored Core 6 is reportedly set to launch on August 25th of this year. So 4 months from now, man. And look, oh my God, I am blanking on his name. Head of From Software. Miyazaki.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the next game from them after Elden Ring came out was not far off. So this is something he said before. So I'm inclined to believe this. Of course, Tom's track record speaks for itself. But yeah, I'm inclined to believe this, and I'm excited because it sounds like it's going to be very different from what a typical FromSoft game has become for the industry. And I like that they're going to stick to, pardon the pun, the core of what Armored Core is. But how do you feel about us seeing more from FromSoftware way sooner than expected after Elden Ring with the expansion announced too?
Yeah. You were right. He was very quick about this, saying that it wasn't that far off. I'm actually curious about this one. I just want to see how they tackle this. I've never really played an Armored Core game before. I've heard the stories. Yeah, and it's just like, you know what? Let's see what a different, kind of take in the armor mechs and all that. I want to kind of see it. I have a low-key affinity for like mech stuff, but I want to see it done right and cool. I don't know if this is going to be for me. The one I remember from my OGs that I remember, like, it was a game called Zone of Enders, I think Konami made, and I kind of liked it. It was kind of stylish and stuff like that. But I want to mech stuff a shot. And let's see what's going on. Hopefully it ain't too crazy soulsy, but we'll see.
It sounds like, based off what Armored Core has been, I've never played it either, so I don't want to speak out my ass too much here, but it sounds like, from what I've seen and heard, that it's not going to be super soulsy, that they're not trying to jam Souls elements into this, that it's very much going to be, at least what Miyazaki described as like true to the series. So it actually may be your type of game. So
it may be. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to get too pumped up, but yeah, I definitely got my eye on it. There's no doubt.
Same here. Certainly after Elden Ring, they can earn that much out of you.
Salute to the Elden Kings. I got love for y'all. Do y'all thing.
We got a little bit of news here in the Redfall universe. Next week's episode, will we have this game out? We will have this game out.
Technically, we will.
Yeah, yes. So we'll be able to talk about Redfall next week. And so just know that preloading is now available. The Xbox Series S version of Redfall is currently sitting around 40 gigabytes, while the Series X version is at 77 gigabytes, and the PC version is at 94 with a final install size of 103 gigabytes. So that's a range of 40 to 103, depending on where you are playing. But again, Redfall preloading is available now and comes out May 2nd next week for those listening here on Patreon, and then for those who are listening for free in just a couple of days. Or maybe it's already out. Who knows when you listen to this? Cog, are you ready?
We're ready.
All these questions are about to finally be answered, sir.
The questions we got to see. We ready to bite back, these file sizes and all the stuff that's going on. It's a very interesting release. I'll tell you right now. This is probably going to be one of the more polarizing, interesting, how people, take this game. And we got to see if they can able to land this thing, because there's a lot going into this one. So we'll see.
Indeed. We have questions about it on Gutcheck, so we'll get into that in a little bit. Little bit bigger of a file size, especially the PC version. I know they unpack files differently, so they're going to be bigger file size, but 100 plus gigs I was not expecting for the game, but
it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, but it's going to become the norm, man. When I got my review code for Jedi Survivor, I plugged this code in and it says, you need to delete some files. 147 gigabytes. I'm like, what?
147?
Yeah, 147. I'm like, bro, this is Warzone energy. What is this, man? It's a hard drive eater. So the easy delete for me was Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm sorry to tell everyone. That was the one I released.
Controls made it very easy for you.
I was like, sweet release. Now I got space. That's 60 free gigs right there. What's next?
Dirty.
Xbox has also added a brand new dynamic background for Redfall, available on Xbox Series X and S. So if you want to really, get into that hype mode, you can go ahead and do so. Download those. I'm not changing mine from that 20th anniversary one with the OG Xbox Nexus in the background.
I love that.
I love that. So, dude, the original Xbox is such a mysterious machine to me. It's like a contraption from another planet to me.
Yes.
Like when you fire it up.
I
saw a video that someone filmed. I recommend people look it up. I think it's called me firing or turning on my Xbox the day it came out. And this guy just has a plethora of videos. I wish I remembered his channel, but he has a plethora of videos of that his parents or his friends recorded of him experiencing like big moments in gaming.
Oh, that's dope.
But it's all in the moment. And you could tell this dude was excited, because the funniest part was he like fires up his system And, like, you're excited when you're getting into the nitty gritty of nothingness. This dude was reading the terms and conditions on his
Oh, you're about it.
Yeah. He was like, he set up his time and date, and usually like, all right, throw in the disc, get me in there. But he went into the terms and conditions, and it was like reading it out loud and stuff.
Oh my God.
It was so funny. I think the video's got like 3 million views. It won't be hard to find, but it's a great channel. That was a good stroll down memory lane for me. So I recommend people check that out on an off note. But are you going to be setting up this dynamic background, sir?
I'll check it. I don't know if it's going to move my Lightfall. Right now I got it Lightfall as my dynamic background, which is very cool, very stylish, very cyberpunk-ish. Prior to that, on Halo Infinite, had it for a while. The big Master Chief, the little sky in the back. I always felt it really shines on the 4K. But they upgraded their background UI to 4K.
Yes.
It really shines. So right now, we'll see. I got to take a look. I might, but I will give them credit. There I saw there was a Redfall commercial out in the wild. A Redfall commercial for advertising the game. I could not believe this. So yeah, salute to them.
We've been calling for.
That's what we've been calling. So I'm happy that at least that part of the cycle is going on. So we'll see. They got a lot going in coming in this week, and they probably need to land the plane. So we'll see how this thing, how it goes.
Yeah, we'll talk extensively about it, but we're hoping for a win for sure.
Yes.
But the win does not arrive with this next story, because in the most depressing news of Maddie's life, an interview by Rock Paper Shotgun with Rafael Colantonio, formerly of Arcane, has revealed that Deathloop was selected over Dishonored 3. And Cog, if you could see it right now, I'm putting my knee on the floor. I'm bending the knee right now to you, because what he says is every fucking time I bring up Dishonored 3, well, Maddie, man, they got to make a business decision, So here we go. Let's get into it. As described by our friends at Pure Xbox, quote, after Dishonored 2 failed to reel in a bigger audience and the release of the standalone expansion, stop that now, sir. Stop that now, sir. I'm hurting as it is. For those who are listening, he's nodding approvingly at the choice of words here by Raphael. So anyway, after Dishonored 2 failed to reel in a bigger audience and the release of the standalone expansion, Death of the Outsider, Bethesda wanted a small game pitch containing something that could potentially feature multiplayer, perhaps microtransactions and roguelike elements, and in Colantonio's words, that's how Deathloop was born. Quote, they didn't quite know where we were going after Dishonored. Do we want Dishonored 3? I don't know. Let's make something simple and short before, and let's see. And then Deathloop became a big thing over the years, end quote. So yeah, man, I guess my emotions got the best of me. I apologize. It won't happen again. I'll do better next time, because it seems like, in fact, our friends at Arcane were struggling a bit and decided to make something a little bit new, because they realized that our Dishonored wasn't catching on, which is bullshit. It's everyone else listening out there's fault, by the way. I just want to make sure you all know that.
Listen, it's like music, man. It's like there's sometimes, your favorite artist or group or band or whatever, and you just love them for like this particular, style or whatever they debuted with, right? You're like, that's the group. I love them for that. And then just commercially it doesn't hit. And, let me give you an example. Like for hip hop, I'm a big Nas fan. And Illmatic, like that's the Bible. That is like, people consider that the perfect hip hop album, start to finish. You don't skip any track. Young kid speaking just craziness, just like wow, I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. That's like a classic line, from Illmatic. Yeah. And I remember when the second album and the third album, it was written, it got a more commercial feel, like a couple more commercial tracks. He still had a couple joints, but what it is they realize in order to get to the masses, they have to adapt change a little bit to the trends. And I think that's what's happening here. So the way I just look at it for you with Dishonored is your baby. That's your Illmatic. That's your.
It is the Bible of immersive sims.
It's indeed. The Bible of it. They did something that nobody was really doing it, and they did it on such of the highest level. And I just think what happened is like, damn, we didn't go platinum from this. Like we were supposed to really, we put all this blood, sweat, and tears, and they didn't really feel it. So they made some little edits. But I do think the beauty of this is that being acquired by Microsoft, will allow them to go back to actually have the funding to do that Illmatic at Dishonored. So that's the thing. You gotta let this ride. The way you feel about this is the way I feel about Apex Legends when it comes to Titanfall. Titanfall is my Illmatic. Like that's the great. Like, bro, what are y'all doing? We need Titanfall 3. But the numbers indicated, like, bro, they didn't buy that Titanfall 2 for reasons.
I struggle to swallow the pill that Deathloop was so fucking successful to a point that they could never do a third Dishonored. That's where I think Xbox does play the factor, like you were saying, that makes that possible. And I don't know if it was possible without them.
And you may be right. Deathloop still may not have done it for them, right? But in comes Microsoft with the swoop. Now you got that financial backing. You're like, okay, we can breathe. We don't have to do all this stuff. And that's why I look at Bethesda. Bethesda to me is very interesting. And I know there's a lot of cloud around the 30 frames per second, all the stuff that's going on, Redfall, and cloud around this. But I do think we forget they were in transition prior to being acquisition. A lot of the moves they were making wasn't working. So I do think a lot of these titles were made in transition. You're still going to get your Illmatic. You're going to get that Dishonored 3. I'm telling you, you're going to get that.
Oh, I deserve it. I deserve it after this. I absolutely deserve it. But
you do.
Yeah, Redfall. I wonder if Redfall, we'll again talk about it more with our little gut check question we have, but I do wonder if that's going to, if it's a success, despite the 30 FPS shit going on, if it's a success, I wonder with the success of Deathloop and Redfall, I mean, you're creative for a reason, right? You have it to have that, a number of reasons. It's different for everybody, but most do it in the sense that we can all agree the reception at the end, here's our baby, what do you think of it kind of thing, is really the important part of the process. And you want as many people seeing your baby as humanly possible, right? And so now with Game Pass and multiplayer, I'm curious if that shakes up, if they find success in it, the style of design they go for moving forward. That's where now Xbox's involvement could shift it either way easily. But nonetheless, I imagine those of you out there who are like me and, Dishonored stands, and you deserve to hear this too. With me, I had to be the one to deliver the gospel. So it's okay. We're going to be fine. Redfall will be fantastic. Deathloop 2 will never happen. They'll make Dishonored 3 and we'll be good to go. That's how it's going to go.
Oh, you already charted out the roadmap. Okay, I see what we're doing.
Just got to hire me. That's it.
That's it.
Just a little note here on Starfield, because the developer direct is up soon, and Bethesda did remind people it's still coming, so it looks like they're locking it in. They're not hiding away from it. The Starfield Countdown Twitter account shared some Starfield gear that's available on the Bethesda Gear Store in preparation of the developer direct. It's a beanie and a jacket, and I'm not gonna lie, man, like that beanie is looking pretty nice. My pull up. The jacket is really cool too, but I don't know if I'd be outside with that.
I mean, for me, by the way, I did the jacket.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did the jacket. I did the jacket because you know what that is a super it's white with the gray trim, the hoodie. That's like you really showing out. Like you going out somewhere really nice. That's a one-time, a couple special event kind of thing. So I got an outfit that I'm gonna put together.
It looks like a rain jacket.
Yeah. I got something cooking with that one. You know what I'm saying? So
you got a fit plan?
Yeah, I got a fit for that. I got a fit. I already see the kicks in my mind. I see the hat. I see the whole vision. I could put something together with that one. But normally I would agree with you. It's like, because it's like so much white to it in the gray, whatever. It's hard like to do like an everyday something you want to wear consistent. But I got something for a special occasion.
For me, it's that beanie. The beanie is I always have been I like the subtle gear that kind of just. You could tell it's geeky, but it's not fully right. So that's the one that really caught me. Otherwise, I'm just taking a quick perusal here at the Starfield gear section. That's all that's new. They have the Starfield shirt. They have the Constellation beanie, the jacket, and a Nova Galactic mug. And I'm sure much more as we approach launch. But that Barkfield shirt, I'm surprised they just don't have that for sale. It was for, because they do it for QuakeCon to like support the pups. So of course I had to support the pups. But that's an awesome shirt. Like it's literally the cosmonaut dogs, but like looking up. But it's little puppies. It's great. It's definitely one of my favorite shirts. I almost wore it today, but I was like, damn, bro, I wear that shirt. Like everyone's gonna think I got like one outfit. Yeah. Like that dude who pulls up and he's like wearing the same clothes every get together. You're like, man, I know you like that fit, but it's wearing it's wearing out. It's welcome. I got a pair of pants that are like that. Like you'll constantly catch me in these kind of brown and yellow plaid pants because they look really good. They style out, but they also feel like sweatpants. So it's like I'm winning on both ends.
Oh, when the feel is good too.
Yeah, but then my fiance kind of she's like kind of wearing those a lot lately. I'm like,
hey, yo.
I'm like, I'd rather you tell me now so I know.
Damn.
One too many times.
Yeah, say that, you know.
Oh, we're good at that. We keep each other. We don't let each other walk out and like, hey, you might get roasted. This is like number 4, man. You can't put those pants on again.
You gotta respect. That's love. You gotta respect it. She got your back. I love it.
This was interesting bit of news here. Microsoft has claimed that they are making a sequel that could take a decade to develop. And this came out through some of the court documents and statements by Microsoft. And so we're seeing here a sequel that could take a decade to develop. I'm surprised we didn't get it right in asking us this, but Cog, what could that game be? I have one in mind. I'm sure everyone can guess what it is, but I have one in mind.
Oh,
it's got to be Fallout, bro. What else could they have just got that's going to take them another 10 years? That's going to be a 2030 game. You already know with the way the timeline shakes out. Starfield this year. I'm going to say 2027, 2028 for Elder Scrolls 6. Probably longer, honestly.
Yeah.
So we're talking 2030-ish for Fallout 5. I'm like, and they already confirmed that's what's next after Elder Scrolls 6. So, Cog, I mean, you got any other ideas, sir?
I hate to be the negative.
Not again.
Train here. But, no, I'll be honest, like, this is not their fault because this is obviously information that came out through the document, the investigation or whatever. It's like, I don't want to hear about what I'm going to get 10 years. Like, I'll just be honest, like, I might not make it. Like, bro, like I need to know what you're doing now. Like, so that's where I'm at with it. And I'm on this, there's an old school from old heads. There's a song like, what have you
really
done for me lately? Yeah, like, what have you done for me lately? Like, I don't want to hear, in 2035, bro. Like, I don't want to hear that talk right now. That's just me. Again, this is not their fault. They didn't promote this. This is information that came out. I would have liked to be like, we got a sequel that's coming out next year too. You know what I'm saying? Then you got my attention. I don't want to be woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of stuff. That's just me. So I'm not there. Hopefully, you get your Fallout there.
I'd hope a little sooner.
A little sooner than that. That's what Xbox fans want to hear. We want to hear about more sooner things than this.
Well, guess what we got this week? Quantum Break, baby. Back on Game Pass. So if you missed out on this classic, it's here to stay. For those that don't know, this was an exclusive during the Xbox One days. And for some reason, it seems like a licensing issue is what was described to us. It had disappeared off of Game Pass, and that Aaron Greenberg had commented on the matter saying, don't worry, it's coming back. We're working on it. And I was a little bit worried that it was going to be, what we've heard before would say like Metal Gear Solid, like, oh, we're just renewing the licenses. We'll be back later. But kudos to Microsoft. They got this one back pretty quickly. So it's already on Game Pass. And just a good reminder, man, I know we're about to be playing Redfall, but I think Quantum Break is one of the most underrated games of the last generation. Will it blow your socks off? Maybe not, but I really think it has a lot of cool ideas that people nowadays would appreciate, and doesn't hold on to you for too long. Like, I think like 15 hours tops, I want to say.
Yeah,
but good game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Shout out to, the original #Just ones that Xbox did put out during that gen. Quantum Break, Rise, Sun and Rome, Sunset Overdrive. Those are the 3 that I really champion for people to go play for that generation. So, yeah, this is good that they got ahead of it on the, the socials as far as, hey, it's coming back. Just to put because remember, the fear was, look, they lying, they taking first-party games out. That was the talk, and they got ahead of that. So that's dope, and to see it back in there, no doubt. I would like to see, though, I'm not sure if they got 60 FPS. They need the 60 FPS boost on there. I don't know if that one, correct me, LSM fan, or anybody listening, if it does, because I think that was one of my holdups for going back on the replay, because Rise definitely does it. And I'm not sure about Quantum Break because I need that 60.
It does not have FPS.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, Remedy, come on. This is Remedy. Yeah, please, Crytek, Remedy, go speak to Jason Ryan. Let me direct you to who he is, and go help this team to fix whatever bugs that is preventing these things from having FPS boost. We will play these games with 60 frames on that boost. We want to see what it could be now reimagined. So that's my only little minor.
Funny enough, Alan Wake has FPS boost. So.
Yeah, give me that 60. Let me go back in that 60. Let's do that.
Speaking of Alan Wake, another Remedy game here. Alan Wake 2 is in the last major phase of development ahead of its 2023 launch. Michael Lamaro writes in, and this is actually written in before any of this news broke to my knowledge, so good timing by Michael. Hi, Dukes. What is your hype level for Alan Wake 2, and what month do you think it'll release? Sam Lake is starting to hype it up a bit on Twitter. Also, I'd like to hear your opinion on the OG or remaster if you played it. Thanks, boys. So thank you for writing in, Michael. We appreciate that. Have you had a chance to play the original?
The OG. Yeah, the OG I played. That was a long time ago. Classic. I remember that's the gen that had the console in it, and it was like, oh, it was a big deal. Not classic. You know who else goes hard? My homie, Fred Outdoor 19.
Yep.
Yo, he goes so hard for Alan Wake. But yeah, good to see Sam out there, promoting it. And it's just, if it's in the last, phase of development, hopefully we're getting that soon and see what's going on. But yeah. October. You think in October? Okay.
I mean, that's the geeky gamer take, right? Is what I call it. Like, oh, that'd be cool. Like, I don't know the business sensibilities of it, but little kind of horror style game in October sounds perfect to me.
That'd be a perfect month, yeah. So what's your history with the lake and the wake?
I've played Alan Wake once years ago. It was way after it came out. I think I went back because that was like when I was on a big trophy achievement hunt grind. I would play these games strictly for that. It's literally what would drive me from experience to experience. I wish, just on a side note, Xbox would really dive more into the meta game of achievements and actually seriously tackle it. That's one thing we've also been waiting a while for. But Alan Wake is a great game. I love the creativity of it. I really like the use of the flashlight to me. That spoke to me a lot because it was just very different. Because it still managed to be intense. Like I remember parts of that game. Like I remember running through a big field that was on a farm, and that is the moment in the game that sticks out to me the most. Because otherwise, like the story, I remember the ending being like, "What the fuck was what?" Like, so I definitely, when we get that release date, if I can, I want to squeeze in a replay of Alan Wake 1 because that game was weird, but in a good way weird. That's a Sam Lake game, right? But I want to play that, and I got to finally get to Control because apparently with Control, it's in the Alan Wake universe or something. And so I feel like Alan Wake 2 is probably going to take components of that. I just like what Remedy does with that. Minus Crossfire X in that campaign. Beyond that, though, I like what they do. I like how they interweave and how they're kind of building their own universe, incidentally, it seems. And I also respect how they let Control climb out of a hole. I mean, they really let word of mouth just do the trick for them. It was super impressive because that game didn't even chart the month it came out, but it ended up getting a lot of players. They struck some wise strategic deals, secured a bag from Microsoft, they have really pulled ahead, it seems. So good on them.
Yes, sir.
All right, next one's really interesting here. Tango Gameworks appears to have a multiplayer game in development, according to a environment designer job listing at ZeniMax for Tango Gameworks, where one of the requirements of the qualifications, or I should say, for applying is to have experience in multiplayer game development. So after the single player games that they've delivered, and The Evil Within and Hi-Fi Rush, COG, it looks like Tango's on to more and more. Do you think this is Hi-Fi Rush 2? Maybe, because with all the people hopping in combat, maybe you get a little co-op there. Or do you think this could be something else? Obviously, it's just a blind guess, but let's just have some fun with it.
We're having fun with it with blind guessing. Look, we did hear about the rumor about a JRPG with them as well. I don't know if you heard that one.
Yeah. I remember that too. Yeah.
Look, they're expanding. We'll talk about more about success and that stuff later. But to me, this is exciting to see that. I'm gonna be real with you, Maddie. Like Tango right now,
Microsoft likes what they're doing. Clearly,
they rising up the ranks for me personally. After Hi-Fi Rush, Ghostwire, which I'm still rocking, and what they have cooking. And I love Mikami's vision before he left, which is like, hey, I'm gonna get a lot of young people in here. We're not gonna be just a horror studio, and is something to be said about Microsoft having a Japanese studio just by proxy by acquiring ZeniMax. That excites me that they could have a JRPG. Could you imagine that coming out for Xbox and potentially maybe a multiplayer game coming out for Xbox with that Japanese feel and that sensibilities? Like, that's what I want to see. I'm excited for that. So yeah, let's go. They creeping up the top 10. They're getting into close to the top 5 territory. If they keep this up, I'm loving everything out of Tango right now. So yeah, that's my little pick.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of them. I wasn't crazy on the Evil Within 2, but the Evil Within 1 to me was still one of the better survival horror games out there, especially after all the updates. I think a lot more people would enjoy it compared to when it came out. Not because of like frame rate, but people were really critical of the black bars that kind of created this cinematic feel for it with the film grain. All of that's adjustable or gone now. So I think, by the way, if anyone's curious and you haven't played it, I think now's a good time to give it a shake. So Tango to me has always been pretty good. They just couldn't seem to find their footing. I haven't played Ghostwire yet, as I've said multiple times on the show, so I won't go into that, but I really want to. But they are starting to experiment, right? When you really break down these games in the terms of the basics of what they are, right? You have a third-person survival horror game in The Evil Within, right? And then you get I wouldn't fully qualify it as this, but a first-person shooter, really, in Tango, right? The way it's handled, the way it plays, and then a third-person beat 'em up with rhythm mechanics in Hi-Fi Rush. So they quietly, once you saw Ghostwire Tokyo, you started to realize like they're doing different things. And now you see Hi-Fi Rush, and that seems to be their studio DNA. Like they're going to just keep hitting us with different things. So to me, it doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility now with multiplayer games, with a JRPG. They could, wouldn't surprise me if they're doing both. And if they're going to kind of be the little, I put this in quotes, little game producer, like a Hi-Fi Rush, which is this 10-hour experience, but really refined and replayable and enjoyable, just a lot of personality full of it. That is a great studio identity to have in your first party. Like people were attracted to Hi-Fi Rush unlike anything else they've made. Even if I loved other stuff, like there was a conversation there. We'll talk about the success of the game later, but I'm excited if they are developing a multiplayer game. I would trust them with it.
I agree. What for COG, what gets me into GOAT studio status is what I really start to like you is when you show me that you can do multiple genres. You can do anything. You're not just stuck in this, all we can do is this first person. That's why you think Obsidian, the guys I like Obsidian, Respawn, like they in this pocket where they can do multiple genres and it's still great. And that to me is a sign of an amazing, talented studio. So yeah, if they keep this up, man, you want to give me a JRPG? You want to give me a multiplayer game? All right, Tango, I'm listening.
That's the diversity that will let Xbox thrive. It doesn't feel like a bunch of pot shots if it's coming from your first party studios. So
agreed. We don't need assembly line stuff all the time. Like we get it. That's popping. Show us something else you can do.
Yeah. So best of luck to them on their ventures. I agree with you. I like how Mikami passed the torch on his way out. And I think that studio with John Johannes has a really bright future. So I'm excited to see more names come out of there and what they're up to next. All right, next up here, Rush Cyberfunk. For those who don't know what this game is, think Jet Set Radio. It looks amazing. And finally, it has a release date. It's coming out on Switch and PC August 18th, and then later for other platforms. They said a couple of weeks later. So depending on, platform issues is what they described it as.
Have we confirmed which platforms? They are going to
they said other platforms have yet to be specified. Team Reptile is likely referring
Moving on.
Yeah. They confirmed to Gamatsu. They said other platforms should still release roughly 1 or 2 weeks later, as long as, quote, no weird platform-related issues come up, end quote. So how are we feeling about that, Xbox, man? How are we feeling about that?
There's a lot of second-class citizen energy. I don't feel special. I need to feel special. And right now, I ain't feeling special.
Yeah, this definitely reeks of they're going to look at the metrics and they're going to see
feel like we'll get back to you when we get back to you. Yeah. Oh, no.
Game Pass drop in December, maybe. And they're like, there you go. Thanks for coming, Xbox. But the game looks great. I'm very, very,
Cool.
very excited for this one,
So
man.
it's such a mighty game.
This game, I mean, the music, the art style. When you try to go back to Jet Set Radio on like PS3 or Vita with the HD re-release they did, you recognize the art style and the music have really aged phenomenally well. The game has such a sense of style. It really has a strong identity. But the controls, man, they're just not there yet. They're not. And so what Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is a chance to do all of that and then have the right controls. And so I'm curious how this is going to do with people, because obviously a lot of folks are excited for that Jet Set Radio reboot, remake, whatever it's going to end up being from Sega that we saw on that latest leak. And I'm excited about that too. So talk about a weird renaissance coming around the same time. But Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, August 18th. That's going to be a busy stretch, man. We're like right before Starfield at that point. It's Baldur's Gate 3 on the way. It's going to be a lot of good shit coming out at once. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Tight pocket. Yeah, for sure.
All right, next up here, Cog. THQ Nordic's digital showcase will return on August 11th. So usually we get a couple of interesting looking games out of that. Maybe a new SpongeBob game. That'd be pretty cool. But otherwise, maybe I'm wondering if what's going on with, I'm going to have to bring up KOTOR Remake because we talked about it briefly on our DD Cross Sacred Symbols. And Cog, I just haven't shaken it off since. Like, it entered my mind. It's just been living there now. For those who don't know, maybe you're new to the show. Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite game of all time. You can go watch the Maddie archives. You'll find videos of me and my preteens just begging for a remake of this game, a third entry, something like that. And finally gets delivered, right? And we know the rest. We know what happened, right?
We know what happened to Fable.
Potential cancellation in the works or developer switch. But Saber Interactive is an Embracer developer. I wonder if this could show up. Or is this the PlayStation showcase in May that we're hearing about that it could show up? Look, it's time to get some answers. It's time to restore the faith in the KOTOR fan base. Just to, make sure we're doing okay. Just let us know what's happening. I do think some type of product update is due, but otherwise we know THQ Nordic, they do Destroy All Humans. They own a lot of these older properties. They're publishing Remnant 2. They got a lot going on there. That's kind of their identity. Are you excited for this showcase? Is there anything that comes to mind to you for THQ and what they do that you may look forward to with this showcase?
Yeah, I got some good relationships with the THQ peeps. No, they kind of like, I like them. A lot of stuff sometimes ends up being AA for them, but they've got a lot of big IPs that they're sitting on. I do think my prediction is you will get for KOTOR. Because the rumor is PlayStation is supposed to potentially do something, this in May. So, and assuming they still have the rights. I'm assuming as far as the exclusivity and marketing.
If they don't, Xbox, you got it. That's your window of opportunity. But I imagine so.
We imagine so, right? So my prediction is probably if you see it there, but you'll see it there. And if not, then by this showcase. I think an update is probably due, what I'm saying, kind of due. But as far as anything specific, not per se. I'm kind of indifferent. I just want to see what they're working on, what's cooking in general, any titles that I forgot about, kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll pay attention.
This next one, Cog, you have close relations as well. And this is starting to become a consistent story here, and it may explain why the wait in the pipeline for Xbox games has been so long when you see this news pop up once more that now we have another first-party studio with a potential second game in development. This time, Compulsion Games, who we already know is working on a brand new IP. And according to Mark Slutsky, he is a narrative director at Compulsion Games, and he is working on a second game over at, at Compulsion Games. So I found this to be very, very interesting, that there could be two in the works here, because this team, when you think about it, they did Contrast, which is a really cool game. It launched with the PS4.
Yeah, it belonged to PS4. I remember I had that game.
Yeah, that game was awesome.
It was cool.
Laylee was actually playing it on Game Pass the other night. She was like, "I love this game." Yeah, it's so underrated from what they've done. They did We Happy Few, as we all famously know, a game that had a lot of potential, but you could tell the budget kind of ran out, had to go procedural generation. But now they're working on this, what was described as this kind of southern dark fantasy, just one style IP, very narrative heavy. Now it seems like something else, man. And I'm just wondering what you make of this potential news here that they may be working on a second game. A lot of people getting sloth lately, by the way. A lot of this news coming through Idle Sloth, which shout out to the sloth, man. This guy has been on a roll lately.
Bro, he picks up some ILP stuff too every once in a while. Like, got sloth. You know, kind of thing. Salute to him. He's a sleuth out there. Compulsion is very interesting to me because they're mysterious. Like, you can't put your finger on what exactly is happening. You know, we did hear obviously that they were working on that that supposedly kind of hashtag just one energy Southern style, game with, I believe, a female protagonist. Was allegedly for that. So if they're working on a second one, I am curious as well. It's to the point, I'm just gonna be real. Like, Compulsion, I'm pulling for y'all, but it's like, we all get to the point, like, we gotta see something. We gotta see something, bro. Like I don't want to be that. I know development takes long. I'm not even the person that gets mad. I know I'm in the minority with this. I know you guys, I think we did a crossover, and the majority of you guys pretty much say, hey, you guys don't like when Xbox shows stuff early. And I understand the sentiment. The only reason why I'm on the opposite side is at least I know what Playground Now was doing. Okay, they are working on Fable. Okay, cool. We know Initiative. Okay, you're working on Perfect Dark. I get it. I just need to know what you're doing at some point. So I just feel with this summer showcase, why it's so important is like Compulsion, NXI. There's a couple of y'all, we don't know what y'all doing. You know what I'm saying? So it would behoove just to say, Cog's not on the guy. He's not on the angry train that gets mad that you guys say stuff too early. Cog is the guy that says, yes, okay, you're doing that. I'll leave you alone till it's finished. Just let me know because when I look at the list of studios and I can't say what's going on, not that I'm worried. I'm just like, all right, talk to me when you have something to show. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at with them. So I think it's time, Compulsion. I think it's time.
I agree. I will say, for all the bad news that surrounded Xbox, and I don't even say this was a copium, any of that shit. It's just, I do still feel this 2023 showcase has to be good. It has to be good.
Hell yes.
And if it's not good, I mean, there's going to be hell to pay from the fan base. There's no doubt. But I have to say, while Xbox has failed to read the room a couple of times, they certainly got to know, like, this showcase, we got to deliver on the Now announcements, which I think they've had enough time to do that. And this should be one of their best showcases. If it's not, if it's anything less than one of their greatest, I will personally be disappointed. I know not others will share that energy, but I agree. Like, they got to pull the trigger on some of these kind of like, I think these types of announcements wouldn't matter. Like, if we were getting stuff in the meantime that was meaningful to people, right? That's unfortunately the reality that they're in. People are okay with waiting for Fable if, like, during that 2021 stretch where you're getting Halo, you're getting Forza, you're like, okay, like, they're distractions. That's ultimately what it is for people. They're distractions. Things are happening, so we can't focus on what's not there. And Xbox hasn't earned that, we'll call it Nintendo PlayStation status, where they're like, that gif of that dude throwing up the peace sign and he just kind of disappears. Like, yeah, you can't just drop God of War and be like, peace, and then you just fade away. It's like, we're back. And here we are now at the showcase. Here's what's coming out for the next year or so. They haven't earned that yet. You gotta build to that. So I'm in agreement with you, is what I'm trying to say. I think Compulsion is one of those teams that I respect. We've waited. I think it's good that they've had time, but if you got acquired in 2018, it's been 5 years by that point.
Can I get a JPEG?
What's up?
Can I get a PNG? Can I get a JPEG? Can I get a title? Like, I'm just saying.
I think they'll be there. I think this showcase should have a strong say, based off our knowledge of game development, should have a decently strong first party presence. When you think about Avowed, something like Compulsion, of course, Starfield, I just think that should be kind of the headliners. And then Hellblade 2, probably. This should be the strongest first party outpour we get for a long while in their showcase. And if it's not, again, I'll be very disappointed because I'm like, then what the fuck are you guys doing?
Look, that's the hope. And again, I just want to be clear. Do I expect every single one of the studios to announce something? No, that's not realistic.
No.
But there is a bunch of the 2018 roster that we'd like to know what you're doing. That's I feel that is fair from 2018.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's all. Listen, honestly, I do think they will. And I think they're setting themselves up. I'm still standing on my square that they're setting themselves up for a great year. It's just that they've had so many bungles and mishaps in between that they haven't been able to string a bunch of W's together. There's always this inconsistency. They had high for Rush, but then this happened, and then this happened. And you see what I'm saying? Like,
you know what I'm thinking of with this? It reminds me of when you're watching a football game and you got your gunslinger quarterback who's he's really spreading the wealth, throwing well. Then you hand it off to the running back for a play, and the offensive coordinator is like, let's run the ball a little bit. And this dude just keeps fucking fumbling and fumbling. Like, all right, give the ball back to Phil. And he's starting to throw. His arm's getting tired. So he's throwing a pick or two. Now that's just starting to happen. Bro. This guy's his arm's wearing out, man. Like, someone's got to rest Phil for a little bit, man. Let the running back take it, but he keeps fumbling the ball.
Look, we're going to get into what's going on. But yeah, I mean,
I'm spending too much time with you, man. I'm pulling out these cogisms like they're no problem now.
I know. I see you doing it. No, it's dope. It's dope because you do feel that way sometimes when you watch a platform and you like a platform, you do feel that way. And that's been the sense. And this is a base that is hungry for some success. They've been waiting. They've been patient.
They have. Well, Cog, we won't have to wait long for this next handheld, which you went hands-on with, so I'm curious as to your thoughts here. Let's talk about the ASUS ROG Ally. Am I saying that right, by the way?
Yeah, they get you said it right. They get mad at me because I call it the ROG, right?
Oh.
They're like, it's not ROG, it's the ROG Cog. And I'm like, well, I'm Cog and I'm calling it the ROG.
So with the ROG. There you go.
Yeah, they're gonna say that's just me. But yeah, Republican Game is ROG. I got you.
There we go.
You good. Mm-hmm.
So it launches May 11th with 3 months of Game Pass, and it said that prices are going to be shooting for below $1,000. Now, Hayden Glass writes in, howdy do, because I saw Cog got a chance to go hands-on with the ASUS ROG Ally. Aside from that terrible name, what does the Lord have to say about it? It seems Microsoft is taking a huge step towards making Windows 11 more user-friendly for handheld PCs. I love the Steam Deck, but part of that is because of the Steam OS, Valve's super impressive operating system. If Microsoft can mimic that for Windows, I would be stoked beyond reason. Thanks for all the content. Have a great day. So, Cog, I mean, we were invited to this event. I unfortunately could not go, but you were able to go out there, test this out, man. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as handheld enthusiasts here. Like, well, what did you make of the new kid in the block?
Yeah, there's a new kid in town. There's a new kid in town. Shout out to ASUS. I've had a good relationship with them as far as like building out my computer and stuff. Like one of my motherboards was that, and it's always been fairly reliable. So this was the handheld I had my eye on. Because look, Steam Deck Nation, I love y'all, but here's the problem. You know, as a guy who I'm a casual PC gamer. I'm not a hardcore PC gamer. And Steam is amazing. Don't get me wrong. But when you tell me, yo, Cog, you can't play Destiny, Destiny's banned because Bungie will not allow a Linux-based version of Destiny to ever run on this device. Damn, one of my favorite games. You know, okay, let's see what games is available. Oh, Cog, you can't play the Rock or Blade Point because, it's not verified. All right, cool. Tekken 7, which is running on it, is not verified. Had a couple of glitches, had a couple of areas where it just morphs my screen and does, and I'm like, and it's like, yo, why my games I can't rock? Like it was just getting on my. Then it's like, no, Cog, you could do Game Pass. All right, cool. Is it native? No. It's streaming only. All right, cool. How do we do it? Like, what's the app? All right, so I'm gonna give you this 2-page of code. And you're going to write down all these instructions, and then you're going to go into the desktop mode, and you're going to have to put a keyboard and a mouse, and you're going it's nothing, though. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. That's what you always hear. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Bro, I spent like an hour doing it. Then I set it up, and it was like a meh version of Game Pass. And I was just like, nah, man. So that's my frustration. As a guy who, when I'm on PC, right, being able to play Xbox natively. That was the dream. Game Pass. I got it. I don't got to worry about the internet connection. I don't got to worry about nothing else. I can native app PC Game Pass download to the hard drive and check it out. So that was the thing that really excited me. So I went into the event, be honest with you, still lukewarm. Like, let me see what I get a hold of. The first thing I noticed off the rep, man, this device is slick. It is a beautiful looking device. Nice. It feels great in the palm. Now, here's the thing. Most handhelds, people, you can do this. The viewing angle is weird doing that. And when you touch the grips make you play it at that diagonal. And when it did that, I'm like, oh, this feels really good. Second thing, super lightweight. I was blown away with how light the thing was. I was like, damn. So I'm going through the test. They have Forza Horizon 4, Windows 11. So the first thing off the back in some of my games, please go to lordsofgaming.net. We appreciate the support. A lot of y'all hitting it up. Y'all quoting the articles. I really appreciate it. It means a lot for an independent, smaller site. So anyway, I'm going through the joint, and the thing I noticed, I was like, okay, I'll hit the rep, and I'm like, yo, is this, because I'm thinking, oh, this is streaming, this Game Pass streaming, whatever. He's like, no, this is local. I was like, really? I was like, all this is on this drive. I didn't believe. I went into the settings. I was like, oh, I'm playing Game Pass games locally, beautifully. This thing looks spectacular. 1080p screen, 120 hertz, FreeSync, Dolby Atmos, Wi-Fi 6. I mean, this thing is a beast. And the screen is beautiful, like 500 nits. It is a vibrant screen. They had Genshin Impact. I tried that. They had.
Wait, I hope someone got a picture of that.
I do. I have the picture up on lordsofgaming.net. Go check it out.
There you go. Everyone, go look.
Go lordsofgaming.net.
This week on. I gotta check it out for myself.
I checked Genshin Impact. I tried Street Fighter 5 because I wanted to test the D-pad. Because the D-pad looked a little sus. I was like, well, no, let me see if that D-pad gonna really work for the Viking game. You know what I'm saying? So I got my all you cans out, my fireball. I was like, okay, I stand corrected. Tested that out. I tested High on Life. High on Life was available on it. Played High on Life, played beautiful. Here was where it really won me over. So I did all that. I said, okay.
These triggers and bumpers, sorry, I mean interrupt, just the texture on them look really interesting.
Then they got the back. If you see it, I got the pictures of the back of the device. Yeah. And they have like these two bumpers in the back. Now, the only thing I will give Steam Deck has the extra set. They have like double sets. So they have more on the back. But I will say, the guy said you can map whatever you want to those two on the back, whatever I want. Then they had the Xbox game bar with the Xbox, you press the home button and the thing comes up like an Xbox interface. I was like, okay. Yo, you could connect it to your TV, your monitor. It's a full desktop Zen 3, RDNA 3, Zen processor. I'm like, this is all the bells and whistles. Now, here's the thing that really impressed me. Besides all that, I'm like, okay, you got me. You sold me. This is my Xbox Game Pass local device, native. I'm sold. Where it really won me over, there's like, oh, by the way, we got them dudes that you like, Steam, right? Well, Steam, here we go. Opened up Steam, had Ghost Runner and another Steam game, playing Steam library, Steam, everything there. I'm like, okay. Wow. Oh, by the way, we're not limiting you to just whatever game store. Here's Ubisoft. Here's Epic Game Store. Easy app downloaded, all curated in this Armory Crate UI thing that they have, which lists all your games. They give you a little logo. That's the Steam. That's the Windows. That's the Epic.
And I see there's a desktop mode too?
Yes. Then they had it connected to a 40-inch.
2K.
2K. I'm like, yo. Then they had somebody playing Dying Light connected, mouse and keyboard. I'm like, I'm sold. Now the question is, how much is this thing going to cost? Because to be baddie, this thing powerful, it look beastly. So look, I'm in. I already know. Even if they say it's over 1,000, which the rumors are it's not, I don't care. This is the handheld for COG. This is what
sounds like the bougie handheld I want.
Yeah, like this is definitely an enthusiast device. Make no mistake. If they're able to get it close to the Steam Deck from a 600 low end model, great. But I do feel this thing feels robust. But
this dude's playing Dying Light 2 in 60 FPS in the desktop mode. That's insane,
bro. It feels next gen handheld ready. That was the feel I got from it.
Did you get a gauge on the battery life? Did you ever get a chance?
Yeah, they gave, bro, I was talking to the rep. They cagey. This thing look like it's blazing through battery. It depends on which, you're using. Some of the older stuff.
Maybe an hour if you're lucky.
2 hours. Yeah, I was like, this battery is going to be done. I already know. So we got to be realistic with the battery expectation, especially if you're promoting 120 hertz, which if you do that, you're going to blaze your battery out. So you might as well push it down to 60 hertz or stuff. They didn't shy away from emulation stuff.
They didn't shy away from that?
No. They didn't shy about talking about, we can run emulators, Switch, and PlayStation.
Can't talk about the ROMs, man. That's become the business. But
upgradable
emulators, they just exist for testing,
Yeah, upgradable internal SSD inside. So they're going like the PlayStation route. As long as you get the spec, you can upgrade it internally, and on top of that, also micro SSD in addition.
Ooh, that's a big one.
You've got storage options. So look, blown away. I didn't expect to be that excited covering it. And the last thing I say for this is Xbox podcast, which really impressed me was this, and this is going to be a plus to Maddie and a minus to Maddie. The plus to Maddie is if you're a fan of this device, I had one of the heads of AMD. I was brought into a meeting with one of the heads of AMD, one of the heads of ASUS who designed the hardware, Microsoft VP of Gaming, senior VP again, she's in there. And it was another rep. And Microsoft is bloviating about how we're going to surprise them with Windows 11, fully Windows drivers. That's going to be for the games. Because that's the issue with Steam, that the drivers, you can force Windows 11 on, but you're not going to have no driver support. So when these games update and bugs and stuff, you ain't got to worry about that. Microsoft seems fully committed. And the vibe I get, this is the negative, the vibe I get for the people who want a Microsoft handheld, this kind of confirmed it to me that they are looking to help the winner. Whoever the winner is who has the device that seems to be the best, and they clearly supporting this device, they're going to lend their resources and the Windows UI and all that other stuff. So that leads me to believe they are not going to make their own handheld. Again, I'm guessing if they eventually do it, great. But that's the vibe. And I think they're putting their money on this, on the ROG. So
interesting. Yeah, that would make sense. It would definitely make sense that it supports their initiative just to get Game Pass on more screens. Would be surprising in general if they just never did it, but I can see why it would lead to a reason like that, especially if you got that kind of important staff in the room like that. That's intense.
Shout out to Tom Warren from The Verge quoting me. He put my video up. He gave me the location because I got the whole interview with Microsoft in there, and basically saying like, this is not just some regular brand partnership. They are looking to really
3 months of Game Pass. That's no joke. Yeah, that's
3 months of Game Pass for the device. It comes out May. So it's coming out next month. Very quick. Couple weeks. And Best Buy pre-orders. There's a link to go in there to set yourself on the list or whatever. So look, for those interested, who always wanted a handheld that could play Xbox locally, this is going to be the thing for you. And remember, open marketplace as far as all the storefronts. So you can still play your Steam games, and you got your Epic, you got everything in there. So I will be there in May, and hopefully my wallet's not too crazy.
I don't know if I can do it. Actually, I got a credit card that I never use. We're fine.
All right, let's go.
I was about to say I'm buying a house, but I'm like, well, So I know you and I are two peas in a pod with this shit. So I know if you're like, man, I was impressed. This thing, it looked great. I was upset I couldn't make this one. But honestly, knowing you were there gave me some comfort because I was like, it's like I'm there at that point. It's like, I know he's going to have the same.
He was heartbroken he couldn't make because King was supposed to cover me too. And then I was just like, bro, I got you. Don't worry about solo. But it was fun, man. And I was very, shout out to them, whoever invited me to the event. And I was impressed. I didn't expect to be that blown away. I expected to be, okay, this is an device for COG, but are the masses gonna like it? And the vibe I got, the boy got kind of going viral right now. I was like, these videos and the coverage, the site. I'm like, damn, people seem to want a device like this. So it goes to show you, Batty, that if Xbox is behind something, the demand is there. So it'll be interesting if Microsoft does change position based on how much traction Ally's getting right now.
Look at these views. Look at these views. It couldn't happen to a better group of guys. There we go. Go support Lords of Gaming. Come on now.
Little independent guy, man, but we trying.
I'm tired of hearing this little shit. Yeah, like, it's time. I'm not just saying it because you're my co-host. Like, y'all listen to this. We got tens of thousands of listeners. It's time to go support the man that you write about in the comment section every week on how much you love him. You love him? Go subscribe to his channel. Go support his website. Go show your love that way.
Yeah, if you can send us a love, more importantly to the right, lordsofgaming.net. If you guys could share, retweet those articles, that means so much more than any individual credit I get. Those guys work hard, and girls, to make me and the team look good. So salute to them.
Absolutely. Shout out to Cog. Thank you. Powerwash Simulator is getting a physical release. Just wanted to throw that out there. Published by Square Enix Collective, their indie publishing firm. So that'll be available for those who are looking to get their Powerwash on. We'll be getting a physical copy for Xbox. I saw, which was pretty nice.
We do that.
Yeah. You know what? Hold on. This is the sign of damage because I got to double check now.
Oh yeah, you know. We scarred. We got to make sure.
Hold on.
Second class energy. We got to make sure.
Yeah.
Hold on. You sure?
We're good. We're good.
Okay, did they deliver to our town?
They did. Yeah. We got. It reminds me a bit of like when I was when we were shopping for houses lately. And I was the first thing I checked was always like putting the address. I'm like, you got that fiber optic, right? And when it said no, I'm like, we're not living there.
I love you. Yeah. That I'm literally, if any day Cog finally ties the dot, I literally said that to anyone. Like, I don't care what house. If they ain't got no fiber, it's no house. Like, I'm so
this
glad
office has spoiled me rotten with good internet. Like, once you taste fiber, you just can't go back. Because, like, when I set up Retro Rebound videos, people don't know how many gigabytes of gameplay I record per video. And when I could send them to my boy Lockmore in under an hour, and it's like hundreds of gigs of files.
Yes.
Oh, dude, it's a blessing beyond blessings. As someone who used to have to leave the computer on overnight, upload over the night, like I dragged the files over 7 hours. I'm like, suddenly your computer's never turning off. So it's just like, yeah, bro.
Facts.
I don't even know how we got there, but let's move on. Simon Kent also got slothed, as according to his LinkedIn profile, it seems that Fable is in, quote, the flighting test stage, end quote, at Playground Games. Quote, performing and developing test cases for smoke testing, animation, and flighting testing, end quote. So that's where they're at with the Fable game right now. It's a little bit of flight test there. So, they're giving it some runs, seeing how things are going here. So, a lot of people always ask whenever there's any Fable news. There's a lot of hunger for this game, man. Like a lot. Like I do think this is a game that could serve as a bigger boon to Xbox than Fable some days. Like I really, truly believe that there's a desire for it, and I don't think it'll be at this year's showcase. I really don't. To me, this strikes me as a 2024 re-reveal. But we'll see. But if it's revealed any sooner, people are gonna freak.
Oh, you freak out. Yeah, this is one highly anticipated.
Yeah. Next up here, we still got a decent amount to go through. Diablo 4, it's getting another beta. It arrives on May 12th, just a day after the ROG Ally, and that'll last until the 14th. It'll actually also feature all 5 classes, unlike the game's first beta. Personally, I'm not going to dive into this one. I'm first
convinced.
beta was convincing. I was like, I'm okay. I don't need more.
This is overkill. When I know I love something, all this pre-touching before, I'm good. I got my touch on.
They called it a server slam. So just one last go to make sure that everything's going to crash nice and right on the day of launch, right? So.
It's still going to listen, y'all. It's still going to have issues on every live service. Going to have issues on day one, but this is good preventative stuff. I know what they're doing. The capacity loading, and they got to do it.
Absolutely. So. With that, when you move on to some COG news here, is it looks like Bungie's new PvP game might be built in Unreal Engine, according to more LinkedIn snooping. So this was picked up over by the Game Post, and that writes here that according to Engine's LinkedIn profile description. It looks like the incubation team at Bungie built prototypes for its new IP in Unity to support early gameplay investigations, but switched to Unreal Engine as their team grew. Quote, I led the efforts to build a more substantial prototype in Unreal, end quote, the description reads. Additionally, we have found several job listings for a new PvP game currently in the incubation phase, which mentions the requirement of experience with Unreal Engine as a key skill for prospective candidates. The job listings for level designer and environment artist mentioned that the candidate must have experience in Unreal Engine. Furthermore, almost every incubation job listing that's currently published on Bungie's career website mentions some sort of requirement with development and networking in Unreal Engine. I saw some people saying, I hope this isn't true. And Cog, I'm just wondering for you, you and Chris are the Bungie guys. I think of you two when I hear their name. I'm just wondering, what's your read on this? Because for me, I'm kind of like, my opinion would be baseless on this. I don't know what I could really throw out there, but I'm just wondering how you feel about this. Is there concerns with like what Bungie? I don't even know what engine Bungie uses for Destiny 2, to tell you the truth.
It's called Tiger. It's a modified engine. Yeah, it's custom.
Okay.
Yep.
And so is there any worry that they're going from Tiger to Unreal for you as a fan of Destiny 2?
Let's get the first thing. So first thing is, this is most likely the game codename Matter, which is PvP potential, maybe hero shooter, maybe Overwatch. Who knows where they're going with it? But this has been developed for a while. We assuming we should be hearing about this game, if not this year, next year at some point. I mean, it feels like forever. But the main concern right now is, look, I got to be real. Bungie Destiny 2 right now is probably in its worst state technically I've ever seen. Bugs, crashes, patch notes, server maintenance is down for 10 hours, bring it back up. I've never seen it this bad. It's getting progressively worse. So fans of Destiny are upset. They're like, yo, what is going on? We need a state of the game. And we got to be honest, there's two elephants in the room here. One, got to call it how I see it. Since acquisition, the quality, even prior to acquisition, the quality was starting to dip. From, again, just game stability standpoint. Oh, this thing comes out, but this doesn't work. Or this is broken and it leads to that. Then, the acquisition happens, right? So you assume, okay, influx of cash, Sony's backing. But I have to shout my man, Ty Guy Travis, do the last word with from IGN. And he made a point that at the time, I was like, oh, you hating. He was just like, look, Sony also is utilizing them for 10 live service games to assist with. So you got resources there that we have to admit will be helping them forge out their, live service future. Then you have Matter, which is this game that you bring up, right? Mm-hmm. Utilizing another engine, right? An Unreal Engine. Not saying that that's bad. I don't have any problem with them utilizing that. The concern right now is they may be split resources-wise thin from core Destiny day to day. And that may be suffer. That's the issue in the Bungie sphere right now in the community. And people are really going in. Like, they're getting to that point. Like, bro, now here's the funny thing out of all of this. Despite people not liking Lightfall, despite all these technical issues, do you realize Destiny right now's active user base and player count is some of its highest it's ever been, which is wild to me. So the only thing I would say is it's kind of, I tell this to Ebontis and Travis all the time. We can complain, but they are enabled by the revenue and the engagement. They are just like, well, we lit. Right? I think what it is Matter, once it comes out, maybe that'll settle things down. And I do think they have to make a core address as far as the technical stability of what's going on to Destiny 2. They owe that to the community because people are like, yo, bro, what's going on? And y'all haven't updated some basic core stuff in a while. Gotcha. So we shall see. But I'm excited for Matter. PvP game, something different. I mean, they ain't giving us PvP in Destiny like that. So
yeah, remember you mentioned that. Yeah,
they ain't updating that too much. So maybe all the resources have been going in. Let's see what this new joint is. But now, look, one thing about Bungie, as much as I complain, there's nobody that does that shooting, that FPS, that gunplay. I'm just sorry. They are the best.
It feels amazing.
Yeah. You can't take that to feel. So whatever they're cooking is going to be lit. Let's just see if they get priority straightened out afterwards.
All right. I'm surprised we didn't get any write-ins about this one, but I saved it for last just because it is Gears 5 spoiler related. It has to do with the status of Gears 6. And I thought this was a really interesting pickup by Dexerto that I was surprised to also just not see making the rounds. But I just wanted to put an audience warning out there that this is a interview with JD Phoenix voice actor Liam McIntyre, and that he does spoil. I don't want to say lightly, but it will indicate what happens at the end of Gears 5. So if you do want to play Gears 5 and you don't want the end ruined for you and what happens there, feel free to skip ahead to the what we're playing section, which will be right after this. This is why I saved it for the end, so you didn't miss any other news and have to have that like awkward skip. But just again, a warning: if you want to play Gears 5, which has been out for a while, but I'm not going to assume that you don't want to. We have a lot of non-Xbox fans who listen to our show. Feel free to skip ahead because this story will have Gears 5 spoilers. So with that, let's get into it. You've been warned. In an interview with Dexerto, JD Phoenix voice actor Liam McIntyre spoke about Gears during a recent Australian convention. As of now, Liam currently does not have any involvement with a new Gears game. Quote, I haven't heard anything, and that's genuine. Like, it's not even one of those, I've got an NDA, I can't tell you. I'm like, where are we at? Now here, again, I'm just going to warn anyone who wasn't paying attention. Here's your spoiler section. One more time. If you haven't played Gears 5, fast forward ahead to the what we're playing section. No more spoilers for the rest of the show. He says, I don't know whether or not they're like, we're about to finish production, and I'm sorry you were not the canon choice. I pitched a whole thing where I'm like, well, we could do both. Trust me, it'd be great. End quote. So, Cog, this could go either way. For those who decided to listen but haven't played Gears 5, what happens is at the end, you have a choice between JD and I'm forgetting the other gentleman's name. And, you got one or two people, and whoever you don't choose dies. And so what we're thinking here is it could either spell, well, Gear 6 isn't making a lot of progress right now, which is possible. We heard about the Coalition having some canceled projects. They were working on smaller games. They were doing the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix demo and so on and so forth. This could also mean that JD bit the dust, bro. And that he's not involved anymore because it's possible he's dead.
Yeah.
And
gotta talk about
I'm wondering what you think about this, because I know you had some worries about the choices that they were going to make. So what do you make? Should we read into this what Liam has said about Gear 6 and what's going on about it?
First of all, shout out to Liam, actor for one of my favorite shows who Cog always champions. It's called Spartacus. Spartacus was on Stars, I believe. Oh, I love that show. He ended up taking the mantle from the late, I believe it's Andy Whitfield, and he killed it. He did his thing. Spartacus, go watch that. Liam was on that. Now to this. All right. I had Cliffy on ILP, Cliffy B, the legend, and one of his complaints about the later Gear series was this, which was he felt it was kind of cowardice for the Gears narrative team to put it in a situation where they made a choice. He was like, when we did Gears, and again, spoiler, if you haven't played all the Gears.
This is Gears 3 spoiler? Okay.
Yes, spoiler. A major character died, right? And everybody got love for Dom. You know what I mean? So they made the tough choice, the tearjerker choice. You know what I'm saying? And it hit. And he just said, look, they didn't, why are we dancing around? Be a man, have some balls. And that's what he said. Kill off somebody. Don't do this choice. He said, now what happens? You're going to put your studio in this which is canon, which is not canon situation. And he is kind of right about that. So it ended in the cliffhanger. You have to make the choice. I got to be real, even though I said all those bloviated about Liam. I wasn't really a JD fan like that. I've never really been a JD fan like that as Marcus Phoenix's son. I just didn't feel, one, we need to be getting rid of Marcus that way, like that to me. And then two, I don't know, it was just something about him. I didn't connect. I actually connect with Kate more than I connect with him. And then the homie, like I liked him better too. So look, this could go either way. It could be like, hey, production went on and we are making the canon choice and it ain't you. Or it just could be, hey, it's just too early, as far as where Gear 6 is. I don't know, but this is very interesting that he said that. So we got to monitor. We got to see what's going on. And we hear rumblings about, former Gears 1 and 2, contributor, maybe consulting on the new ones. That's close to Cliffy. We know Cliffy has a good relationship with Phil still. Maybe they're consulting on where the direction should go. Who knows? So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I liked that there was a choice at the end, but I totally get where Cliffy's coming from on that 100%. Like, it definitely was a move where I like the surprise as a gamer, but as a storyteller, it does put us in this position of we're just always going to be asking, why did you go? Whoever they pick was like, why did you go with that character? And especially, it felt like in Gears 5, because JD actually he became very interesting with how he was behaving, that killing him off was like, you can't do that. He just got his footing. But maybe that's it. That was the end of his story. And now there's more to be told with this other character that was underdeveloped. It definitely put it in a weird position. And my biggest critique of Gears 5 is just that it didn't end in a place that felt conclusive. And maybe it was by design, but Gears 1, 2, and of course 3 felt very much final each time. Like, you knew there was more to be done, but there is a sense of I finished the job while still knowing there's more to be done. Right. And I feel like none of the Coalition games have captured that at all. 4 hasn't captured it. 5 hasn't captured it. 6 has to. 6 should be the end. So it has to. And I'm just wondering how they'll do it. But very interesting here, because I'd hope that they've been working enough on Gears 6 to be in contact with talent. So I'm of the mindset, if I were to just shoot from the hip, I would say this speaks more to who is probably going to be canon. But I feel like even if he's not, now that I think about it a little bit more, though, even if he's not the canon choice, you'd imagine there'd be like flashback cutscenes, things of that nature, where he would still appear. You'd hear his voice, right? Like, you'd think.
That's a good one. I don't know. I mean, now I remember that homie. Dell is the other character. Is it was JD or Dell? So yeah, that's a good question. I mean, if they went that way, and you're like, okay, they kill him off, and then you start off Gears 6. I mean, they could go around where they don't, they mention him, but they don't bring him in.
I guess it would just feel very off-screen death. It's not off-screen, but it would just feel.
I see what you're saying. Right. I see what you're saying.
It feels like weird.
It would. Again, this is as a gamer, I wasn't like super upset, but I understand from a narrative standpoint why it could affect things in that way. We're gonna see how they handle this, man.
I'm curious for sure. But with that, let's move on to what games we're playing, shall we? Cog, you have a huge list. I only have one, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, busy. So shout out to Addict, Lord King, the Lords. We had a little stream. We had a little Minecraft Legends. Got a chance to do the co-op. So clearly Cog had to dust his playground boots off, jump out there. And now here's the thing. Saul was shout to Saul. So I was playing with it. So now here's the thing. All right. The game looks beautiful. I have to admit it really does for that style of a game. And we're getting around and we're getting our little horses, horseback. We're going to the center of the map, and then the game starts to do like a tutorial and as far as the mission and what they want us to do and get the evil piglets out of there. And we went to do that. Now, here's the thing. I was starting to learn it, right? My issue is, come on, Minecraft. Why only one person really controlling the resources like that? So Sav grabs up all the resources. He got all the cool army behind him. He rocking and rolling. So I'm like, what am I doing? So now Greg, so they're like, all right, meet me over there. We're going to attack this structure. These evil piglings are fortified, We get over there to biomes, different biomes, really cool. Found these little things with the horses to jump up really high. Then there was like a mountainous area. I'm like, this is actually
pretty
really
game,
cool.
Right?
Pretty game. Yeah. My issue, I get over there and I'm like hitting turrets and I can't do anything. And then Saul, in the game's defense, like we didn't really pay attention to like how to really do up the resources. So he doesn't know how to do it. So it became a situation where he was controlling a lot of stuff and we had to wait for him to do stuff. Look, overall, probably still not the game for COG, but I do understand, look, a lot of people are going to love this type of stuff. The building, the thing that you can do, the crafting and stuff like that. But I will say the game played smooth, ran smooth. Nice. And it's, my only other nitpick though, it has a high learning curve.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like if I'm a kid, like, That's a high learning curve to be asking the kid to be, doing all this kind of stuff. But again, I'm not a Minecraft dude like that. So maybe the kids is like, yeah, the kid's been doing that, Cog. What you talking about? Like, so I'm like, okay.
I'm in agreement. I said that in my review. I was like, this doesn't feel like kid focused.
Yeah.
It just feels like more for young adults. Like,
yes.
It's kind of surprising.
That's what it is. So that was my experience with Minecraft Legends. We got another stream coming up. We will be back in there, so we'll get that cooking. And then, obviously, I'm still ghost wiring. My skill tree is ill right now. The stuff that I'm doing with these things, man. Oh, I'm fighting way tougher enemies now. Mm-hmm. Now I'm starting to see what's going on. I love the moments where I was split from my altar and I became regular human Aikido, and that got scary. I'm like, oh, I don't got no powers. Oh, I gotta fight regular. I gotta use complete stealth to get away. It really scared me. So I'm learning a lot about my character's backstory. About halfway in, I'm actually doing almost all the side quests. Okay. Now I'm like almost all of them. Like, I'm really intrigued because some people are like, damn, I want to help you. You really going through something. Like, that's like a messed up situation. Like, there was this one where it was just like, this dude was like a slum lord, like a horde lord. And like it was the most disgusting house I've ever seen. Like they really captured someone who just hoards things and is dirty. And I'm just like, yo. And then like, he was doing all this stuff in the neighborhood. Everybody was like, yeah, please free this, this spirit from out of it. Like, it was bad, bro. So yeah, I love the flavor of the side quests. So yeah, I'm just rocking and rolling, and then we getting close. I mean, I think I'm about more than halfway, but I'm taking my time with it because I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, Ghostwire still rocking.
This one I'm very curious about here. What happened? Yeah. What happened?
Now here's what happened. Shout out to my man Ains. I saw a tweet from my man Ainsley Bolden season game. We got to get him on at one time. And actually, we had him on Ultimate. I think
we had him on Ultimate during the Halo Infinite stuff.
Yeah, during the Halo, I think we had him on. We got to get him on. We got to get a couple people on him. Separate Ghosts, a couple people for regular Duke too. I would love to have a discussion with them. But yeah, like I saw like, yo, Battlefield, people don't even know. It's good right now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But it's AIDS. So I'm like, well, maybe he might know something. So I'm like, you know what? This is in Game Pass. What the hell? Let me see what's going on. So, all right. Now, I haven't played it in a while. Fired it up. And the first thing I noticed is, they're promoting the new season 4. And it started off with this amazing, they need to do more of this. Like, Conquest is one of my favorite modes in Battlefield, period. That's where you capture territory.
So good.
So good. Like, they're breaking it down narratively for a newcomer. Okay, this is how it works. And it's multiple zones, how you capture. Bro, like, I don't know if, I'm assuming it's not a new level, but all the levels have been reworked currently right now. Battle Pass, that each level spawns structures just to balance the thing out. I don't know if they did anything graphically, but it was really looking nice, man. Mm-hmm. Really looking nice. Then I went out there, I had my little engineer. They went back to the class system, what I love Battlefield 3, where it was like, engineer, this, that, medic. So I had my little engineer. I had my little wrench. I could repair the vehicles when they mess up. So I feel important because I'm not, my KD's trash. I am never going to be on the top of any Battlefield kill list. But if your vehicle got shot down, holla at Cog, I'll get you back in the ring. I'm that guy. So yeah, bro, I'm not going to front. It felt good. Mm-hmm. It felt good. Playing about 2 or 3 matches. Really enjoyed it. I was like, this is the classic.
They reworked that, right? They were originally kind of like a hero system, so it's classic.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
This is old Battlefield energy for Cog.
When you said like, Battlefield 3, my ears peaked up. That's my favorite.
Yes, that's my favorite. Yeah. Battlefield 3. And it's something about, I'm like, bro, and then they had the Levolution joint where I was facing, it was all these structures, one like these buildings and stuff, but it was like a very, kind of like a sand area kind of a biome. Bro, started playing, wind started picking up, dust storm. I couldn't really see like the snipers in the day. I'm like, yo, this is dangerous to be out here. Then like as the level went on, it cleared up. Like, remember the old school Levolution shit? Mm-hmm. Remember that? We used to the Levolution. You know what I'm saying? Bro, I had fun. I'm not gonna sit there and say 100% it's all the way back, but for what I played, I really enjoyed it. And I was just like, all right, I'm keeping you on a hard drive. And my man, shout out to Citizen and Line, they're all Battlefield guys. They saw me fire it up. They was like, oh, what's this? And I was like, all right. When y'all do your matches, y'all can throw me in. I love it. The classic Battlefield 3 feel. Again, if you're a Battlefield fan, give it a shot. And it's in Game Pass, y'all. No excuse. It's in Game Pass. What we always wanted. To me, Battlefield is fixed now with all this new content and new update. Go check it out. So that's it. Now, as y'all know, ROG Ally all day. So that's what I've been doing.
All right. For me, it's been one game and one game only. Been under that review schedule. So I went straight from Dead Island 2. I finished that up, recorded my review, checked my inbox, and there it is, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which was really cool to see. EA has been very kind to me lately, which I do appreciate. Between this and Dead Space Remake, they got their hands on some of my most anticipated games. So to get early access to both of them was honestly a really cool feeling.
Yes, they are very selective.
Well, because I look back, you know what I do is I look back to like the last game in the series when it came out. Where was the channel then, right? Just to talk about myself for a moment, sorry. But like when Jedi Fallen Order dropped, like I couldn't get into contact with EA. I couldn't like fucking buy a review code anywhere. Like I just couldn't. But things have changed. I'm finding the contacts, know how to introduce better, shoot that shot a little better. So it's a good feeling. Like when a review code hits your inbox, it never gets old. It's that feeling. To me, there are like a handful of things that validate what I do. It's like meeting someone out beyond the screens and just getting to shake their hand and thank them for what we do. Like that's to me validation number one, top of the list. It's like, you know, my work is materialized before me because I met someone who actually likes what I do. But number two is off the top of my head is review codes. Like it's just that feeling of, you know, trust. Like here is this game early that easily you could spoil for everyone, but you're not. And here's when you get to post your review. It's just a cool feeling. But what y'all want to hear is about the game.
Let's go.
Jedi Survivor, I think, is the perfect sequel. I said in my review, when I beat it, I really couldn't help but think of Arkham Asylum to Arkham City. It's funny. I actually saw a comment on my review. I haven't dove in since it went live this morning, but apparently IGN said the same thing, which is interesting that we both came to that same exact conclusion. I don't know. Outside of Ryan McCaffrey, I've talked to like once. I don't know anyone at IGN and Ty Guy Travis, but I didn't talk to anyone from IGN during my review process. So just to make that clear, but yeah, man. I mean, it was really that feeling of when you got Jedi Fallen Order, it was that Arkham Asylum moment of this is what we've been waiting for. All of the AAA pillars are here that we've been seeking in a Star Wars game in this case, just like with Batman. They're all here, and I can believe in this. Now, for me with Arkham Asylum, I love that game. I didn't love hard, to use a cock.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Jedi Survivor comes around, and it's that Arkham City moment where, to me, Arkham City is like the perfect Batman game. Like it had the story with the compelling characters. It evolved all of the key pieces introduced in Asylum in meaningful ways and then expanded into new territory with fun and exciting ideas, like the side missions that made the mascot appearances a little more sensible, like the gadgets and tools you'd use for both traversal, exploration, and free flow combat. It felt like they just took those original ideas and carried them a mile. And that's the feeling I got when I finished Jedi Survivor. It was that, wow, they took everything in this game and carried it a mile and then made me care about the characters. Like I liked Cal, Seer, Marin, Grease. Like I liked that original cast in Fallen Order.
Yeah, very good cast.
And the ending of Fallen Order, I think, is great. But it was more like okay, this is the kind of era of Star Wars we've been waiting for. What a breath of fresh air. And you can go check out my original review of that game. I said it was the best Star Wars game since Knights of the Old Republic, and I stand by that. Yeah. That's high praise coming from me.
Huge from you.
Because we've been waiting for this kind of quality game, like invest in a new set of characters. But the thing with Jedi Fallen Order was, for me, the story kind of lightly missed. Because what I have a problem with Star Wars storytelling is it's always, here are these three established pieces of the timeline, even though there's tons. I'm not even just talking about the Old Republic, by the way, because I know people know as I'm going there. There's so many different pieces of the timeline that they could explore, but it's always, here's the prequels. Okay, thread the needle here and try to figure out something in between these events. And so you can just fill in that gap. every Star Wars story is defined by that. But what's truly exciting about Jedi Survivor is it feels like Respawn was earned the trust of Lucasfilm in a way that I would consider an honor, and is actually able to introduce some really cool, brand new things into Star Wars on the big screen. And as someone who's invested in the media, I'll just say beyond the screen, I felt as a fan supremely rewarded and surprised and excited by what I found. Again, as a fan, it felt new, but also the way they tackled Cal as a character, right? Like the first game, you kind of seen it before. This Jedi who's like, how can I help? What can I do to help? I'm the good guy here. Like, fuck the stormtroopers. We're going to kill them, right?
Yeah, that guy.
But Survivor, it's like, they lost. It's over, right? And so now, he's 5 years later. He's so used to being a weapon. That's what the Jedi were for so long. And at first, it is on that familiar territory as a Star Wars fan. Like, all right, who am I now? What am I going to do with myself? But the way they capture loneliness, suffering, anger in a Jedi who's a good guy, and the way they carry that forward and materialize it for the player, Respawn gets Star Wars, man. If I'm Lucasfilms, I am never letting these dudes go without one Star Wars game in development.
Hold on, man. Hold on. So I gotta ask, because Respawn is one of my goats.
Yes, I know.
The streak, is it intact?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Woo! Absolutely.
Respawn, the goats.
Yeah, they still haven't missed. I had my issues with the game, but to me, it's still like the game is so good, it just overrode those. But I think they're still worth calling out because some people will definitely not be fond of them. But that's all I'll say on the story. The gameplay is also superb. Like, they just took that Souls-like formula. It's still, don't worry, it's not going to push you away. Don't worry. But they did refine it.
Souls?
They refined it, right? So it's accessible like an action game, but the encounter balancing and Fallen Order, you could tell they were figuring it out. And I feel like here with Survivor, they get it now. And so the balances in fights are fair. You're not going to be getting crushed. Like, I tested on multiple difficulties. The normal difficulty is fair. There are moments these encounters are tough. Like, this game can be difficult. Keep that in mind. But it's not an insurmountable boss gauntlet, except for a couple I can think of. There's a couple. I know you're getting a little scared.
Final form 3 times. Yeah, they got it. They got it. At least there's difficulties for me.
Yes, there are difficulties, but yeah, there are some boss fights that are legitimately fun challenges.
Okay, that's fair. I don't mind fun challenges. I'm just talking about, like, are we getting?
You're not going to get
Elden Ring energy from a couple of these bosses where it's like, bro, like, okay, how many times, how many strats?
I think there's 2 in this game that people will kind of, if you've played Souls games and you've overcome them before, you'll be able to beat this. It doesn't feel insurmountable. Okay. But if you haven't, might be a bit of a wall for you.
Here's my thing with the Souls. I don't mind when it's a tough boss. My thing is, sometimes if the encounter is fun and if there are tells, if there are certain tells and I'm like, oh, okay, I got to be doing this. I'm just whack at this and I got to get better at this. Because if I do this thing here at these, that's it. If I got my tells, I'm fine.
Yeah, and it's like they have, like, the character will turn red. It's a lot more. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're good.
Sometimes,
it's still tough with those, but you can see it.
But I'm okay with that. I don't mind losing 1,000 times if there's a tell here and there.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. But when there's no tells and they just straight trouncing you, mad, and you don't have any idea what you're supposed to be doing at specific moments, that can wear me out. And I will say this, it makes it easier in a genre like Star Wars and lightsabers and stuff like that. That's what makes me stick in, because I'm like, okay, I do like the cool thing I'm doing. And then when you pull it off, you feel good. You're like, you go, vroom, vroom, you go get this work. So, okay.
Dude, it's great in that regard. It's much more refined. And when you got the stances, which I think you're going to love, like you can...
Love stances.
You can go dual wheel, double bladed. They got a blaster stance that's out of this world, man. You hold a lightsaber and a blaster at the same time. So this game's got the Bloodborne counter where some dude, if you shoot him right when he's about to attack you, if you unlock this perk, you'll literally just fucking fire away and blast him. And it's such a good feeling. So this game's got like depth to it, multiple play styles. So they definitely, that's where they start to go into new ground, right? Like the way they expanded the stances, the way that they introduce these different styles that have benefits, and it lets the enemy variety shine. Where they go a little hard, in my opinion, in the Souls-like, Cog, if I were to ask you, what is the defining trait of a Souls-like game? I'm just curious, what would your answer be? It's a very simple one.
I mean, as far as the challenge, right? Like the progressively harder and harder challenges.
Right. I think most people who have played a FromSoft game would tell you that. I am very convinced if you asked Respawn, hey, what defines a FromSoft game? I think their answer would be genuinely interconnected areas and shortcuts, because it's fucking everywhere to the point where it makes no sense. And I think they got a little too like, look at my intricate level design, and kind of forgot to make sense of it, because Jedi Fallen Order had this issue, but it's emphasized a bit here in Survivor because the worlds are bigger. Like it's got some open world energy, a lot of just one energy, by the way.
Okay.
So and the open world stuff is good, but because of how the world's laid out, you'll walk into like a room, you'll see like 3 locked doors or chasms around you. You'll make your way around, and much like a FromSoft game, you open those doors and you're like, there's the bonfire I've been looking for. There it is. Let me go warm these hands and rest a little bit and let those enemies respawn. This game has a lot of those moments, right? It has a lot of those moments. But then you'll have zip lines everywhere. You're going to have hanging wires that you can slide down everywhere. And eventually, this same room's got about 7 shortcuts. So as someone who's done level building before, the way I see it is they would start off with that meditation point as this central point, and then they would just build out around it. It was like this radius that would emit from it. And so everything had to lead back into this one central point. And what happens is this level of ludonarrative dissonance where I'm like, Star Wars is cool because it's like fantastical, yet fictional, yet believable. Like it just manages to hedge this really weird line and really well at that. But these levels feel stapled together by zip lines and cords that you can slide down and randomly locked doors. And at times it works, but there are times I'm like, bro, who the fuck set this up? Now, the problem with all of this is because the world is attached together like this, is the navigation is my biggest problem in this game. Like if I were to point out one thing that I'm like, you got to do better in game 3, this can no longer be a problem.
Talk to me.
It's so it's fine if you want to go on this Souls-like heads up display, free direction, and you want to make your areas interconnected porn where you're just everything's fucking on top of each other and layered.
Okay.
If you want to do that, that's fine. That's what a Souls-like game does. I think to a less emphatic degree, but they do that. However, if you want to make a AAA style game that's accessible, which they clearly are going for, where there's tons of collectibles around every corner, and you want to be able to revisit them and go to your meditation point, and you have the ability to track objectives in your journal, you got to give me some type of waypoint, some type of way to follow it, because what ends up happening, Cog, is that every time you're tracking something, whether it be the main story, side quest, whatever, collectible, you're going to pop up this map like 8 times just to make sure you're going in the right direction. The problem with that is that's where the intricacy kind of betrays the game, because there's so many layers, there's so many pathways. And as you're bringing up this 3D map, you're like, okay, I think I'm right here, and I'm going to angle the map. I got to see, okay, I'm here. I want to go. And so you reorient, bring the map back up. Okay, I'm going the right way. Now I need to learn. And so it's like just a mini map, a waypoint. I'm the last person to call for that type of stuff. But when the game's design is begging for it, and you're not doing it, it's hurting the game now. And like, again, it's fine if they want to have this design that's free of that, but then you can't staple together these levels with zip lines and all these fun gamey things, because then like you just, it'll put it this way. They need a map. Otherwise the game's current level design is just going to continue to hurt it.
So they don't have the standard map? Yeah,
you can bring up a map, but not a mini map. You can't just have a mini map. So you're constantly going to stop your game.
Stop your game and checking, chop your game, check. But I get that is frustrating. But my question is, what about like the old Elder Scrolls, like where you have, north, south? Nope. And then you know how we used to put our little waypoint, and they see at least on north, southwest, you see, okay, I'm going in the right direction. Oh, so you got to keep pausing and going. Okay, I see what you're saying.
And what's weird is I went into the accessibility settings and I saw navigation assist. I'm like, okay, let's turn that on, because they have great accessibility options for like even. I'm not talking about just the general, like, if you're not able to play games or something, that type of accessibility, like that stuff is great too. But they also have ones that I turned on, like no fall damage. It's like, I hate fall damage. Like, yeah, turn that shit off right away. But in there, they had one called navigation assist. And I'm like, okay, man,
bam, perfect. There we go.
Turn it on. All it does, bro, it's actually insane that this wasn't just baked into the games already. But what happens is there's like a little logo that's like a lightsaber with some wings. That is your icon to track where you're going onto the objective. So think of it this way. They give it like your traffic lights on a road, right? It's like that's what it's doing. It's telling you like, stop here, stop here,
okay,
stop here.
I'm on the way.
On the way. But it's not on screen. It's only when you pause the game and you look and you see the logo on the map. And then you walk to the doorway and you're like, all right, one more time. Walk a little bit more forward. All right, one more time.
The stopping interrupts you to have to go back to go in.
It breaks it up so much. So what happens is like the main story is rolling beautifully, man. But the side content suffers so hard because of this. Because I guarantee most people who want to platinum this game, 100% this game, are just going to be glued to computer screens, just following where they're going. Because I started to go for it, and I'm just like, this isn't impossible. It's just the navigation fucking sucks. It's so bad. But otherwise, man, it is not overshadowed that this is a game worth the $70. It is a lot of fun. I played it on PS5. It was an interesting situation. Is the last thing I'll say here, because I think it's important. I always try to review games on Xbox for this show, for my audience. Like, I know it's more of an Xbox-centric audience, so I want to represent the platform they're mostly playing on. When EA contacted me, I asked for an Xbox code, and they were just like, well, we can get you that. But this was a fucking awesome move, by the way. First time it's ever happened to me. Most publishers go, okay, cool, we'll contact you when it's ready. They were like, hey, just so you know, if you want to get this review out in time, PS5 and PC will be ready first. They said Xbox. They were like, Xbox. They said something with the way codes are distributed for it will probably be day and date. Do you want PS5? And I was like, yo, yes, I do. And I thanked them. Like, emphatically, I thanked them. I was like, please continue to do that, because no one ever does it. For just a little inside baseball. What'll happen is someone will write it down. They'll be like, all right, Xbox, they think that's all you got. And then then you see the reviews drop. You're like, hey, what happened? Where's my what happened? And they're like, oh yeah, Xbox. The code just came in now. Here you go. And I'm like, man, what?
Yeah, all that time wasted. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Absolutely. We've had discussions internally at lordsandgaming.net. Shout out to a couple of people, my man Nick, and yeah, we've heard that like you have to specify if you're a multi-platform owner so that you're not having to, because you can get caught out there. Yeah. Yes. I'm learning at the same time you're learning.
That's what I always say. They're like, what's your preferred platform? I always think they
had one of our LogNet meetings recently.
Yeah, so I'm like, Xbox, but I got everything. I was like, I always tell them, whatever's available first.
I got everything. Because if somebody's first, make sure you get that joint. Yeah, smart call. And what you said, the key thing. Kudos on EA for doing that and offering you that in that way, because most PR firms are just going to be like, all right, he asked for Xbox and we ain't going to talk to him until they come in.
Put you in the spreadsheet and that's it. Yeah. So
that's it. But meanwhile, the Switch one is available and this one's available and they don't even say that. See, that was a good call.
Because the worst feeling, I'll get back to my final point, but the worst feeling is when when you think like, okay, I'll hear about it, and you see like people talking about reviewing it, you see the embargo details. It's that picture of Squidward like looking out the window. It's SpongeBob and Patrick playing like
everybody outside like, hey, party over here, Jedi. And you sitting there like, yeah, bro
on the list
for this joint. Facts.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like it was a concern with the SKU itself, although I can't say for sure. But the interesting part about reviewing Jedi Survivor is the frame rate was troublesome. It didn't disrupt my experience on PS5, but it was notable. There was one specific section I went, oh yeah, it really dunked in the frame rate. Yeah, with performance mode, it's there. Don't worry, we got performance mode, but. There were definitely cinematics would drop frames. There were certain ones I couldn't show that were very spoilery. But when the action picked up, yeah, it was noticeably different. But just real quick before I chime you in here, what was interesting about this review process was we reviewed it before the day 0 patch. Normally we review stuff before day 1 patch, but this was 2 patches away from the version people are playing. Now I've been doing this long enough to see reviewers shit on games so hard, only for fans to come in afterwards and go, hey bro, hey, what happened with that performance? So all I said in my reviews, I was like, look y'all, I said it was not problematic. I said I had 3 crashes, but I can't sit here and act like the experience I had, because it reminded me of Cyberpunk. I can't act like this experience I'm having is going to be indicative of yours. In fact, yours should probably be miles better than mine. HDR wasn't even fully implemented at that point. So there was so many things missing. By the way, none of them were features. They were like more bugs, tech things, performance-related things, optimization, that stuff. So it wasn't like the I'll say like the navigation stuff was missing. None of that was missing. But yeah, just so people know, frame rate was a little troublesome. Xbox didn't seem readily available. So I don't think many reviewers, if at any at all, played on the system, which is unfortunate. So that's a TBD. So keep an eye out for that. But it seems like performance across the board was troublesome. And I talked to a couple other reviewers who were on PC and they said it was bad. So keep that all in mind. But again, remember our situation, which I don't think I'm not sure, but I don't think I saw a lot of people communicating, which is we were playing before day 0 patch. And so that will make the game run worse in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. And I shout out to the homie from Respawn, my homie Patrick Wren, who I saw him put out a tweet today like, yo, day 1 patch tomorrow, So they're promoting that. So clearly they realized there was some features that they have to address, and hopefully, like you said, and I love that you put that in your review as well.
Yeah, I feel like the most you can do with these things is just give information. Like that's my style. It's like I don't think I'm super eclectic. I don't really try to be. I just want to act like I'm talking to a friend, but just like, hey, here are the things in the game, and here's how I feel. Here's how I feel they worked or not. Enjoy. Nice. But yeah, Jedi Survivor is fantastic, and I just, long story short, recommend people pick it up. I would say do a little research on the performance side, just so you know what to expect. But some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in a long, long time. They nailed it. And Cal Kestis, man, he's up there. He's up there with Starkiller, with Revan. Like he's up there in that gaming company for Star Wars. Like he is up there. He's really developed in this game, and I love what they did with this character.
Dope, super dope. I'm hype. That's what's up.
All right, let's get into our first warm-up question with ladies. We're gonna kind of blaze through these because it's like 2 hours in, and we got to talk about certain piece of news that's gonna definitely soak up some time. So let's do it. Ladies writes, "Hey boys, we're now 1 week away from the launch of Redfall, and it seems like the conversation around it is pretty mixed. Since this is likely the last DD before the reviews are out, what are you guys expecting Redfall's Metacritic to be, and how well do you think it'll do? Personally, I'm predicting mid-70s. Wonder what you boys think. Have a good one, fellas. All right, Cock. Shooting from the hip. Blind shot here.
Blind folk. What we doing?
Metacritic score. What are we thinking?
This is such a polarizing.
I'm going low 80s.
I'm hoping low 80s.
You're hoping low 80s. You're thinking mid-70s.
I'm a little nervous. It's coming in. It feels like it's coming in hot, but off of reputation, yeah, I mean, I think best case scenario is what you said, which is, low 80s, that the core gameplay is fun, and that there is a great story to be told. The key is going to be the execution. The key is going to be the 30 frames per second, and the key is, can it survive the zeitgeist of everything else that's going on, Jedi, all this other stuff. Yeah. But if it's fun, that's all that matters. This is important. I think with the amount of negative news that is, kind of come up pre-launch, but that's what I'm hoping. But if it's 70 something, like my man said, we're gonna have some problems. Yeah. they need this to be at least solid.
Yeah. And I agree. If it comes out, and like, I was kind of surprised by Minecraft Legends Metascore of like mid 70s. That one felt, and I think is, higher quality than that. So I'm very curious to how this will review. But the optimist in me does say low 80s, because I do think Arcane won some fans with Deathloop, and I feel like this reminds me of that similar, more, I don't want to say the C word, but I'm going to, casual departure from the norm by them. And I feel like that may win some folks over, especially because I don't think Bethesda's going to be stupid and send out Xbox review codes. As to this time, we don't know. I know when I put in my request, I said PC, because I was like, I know y'all should not be this dumb. And if I say Xbox, you're going to be like, see you on launch day and day. So I'll take my 60 FPS on my rig. We'll see where it goes from there if it happens. But I think the game will be low 80s at best. If it goes any higher than that, I mean,
you talking mid 80s and anything up? That's a huge W for this studio and everything that's been going around it. Absolutely, yeah. Like that's what I'm hoping for, because at the end of the day, we're gonna learn if that. Remember, we did the crossover with Chris Rager. Said a good point. We are the 60 frames per second stars, but we may represent a small portion of the gaming sphere that doesn't care. If the game is fun and they're playing it at 30, and everybody's like, "Yay, fun! Bite back, let's go." Yeah. No one's going to care at that point. So we'll see.
I almost think the review scores for this one don't matter, though. I really do think the fan reception is everything for this one, because I think that's the telling metric. Like, I think if I'm Harvey Smith, like, I wouldn't give a fuck if you came out and said 60 Metacritic. If the game has like 1 million players, I don't know if that'll be a success for them, by the way, but I'm saying, like, I think that's the metric they're going to look at. Like, this is a very... Based off what I'm seeing, how Xbox measures success, and then when you look at where Arcane wants to be, to me, this is just a game that if it hits a high player count, I don't think they care what they invested in it. It will be considered a success to them. And so I think that's how they're looking at it. So I almost think reviews are almost a pointless metric to pay attention to, even if it does speak to the quality of the product. But otherwise, in the terms of like maybe potential surprises with this game, what interested me a bit was the story, the idea of this kind of more scientific happening, and the way they closed off the open world with these almost big waves from the sea that are frozen in time. I think this world has a lot of potential to kind of take over the experience and sweep some people off their feet. But I really believe it's going to come down to the powers in that solo play, because when you're reviewing a game, I mean, most times you're going to be playing in that solo experience. You're lucky if you get a code, let alone 2. So you're going to mostly be playing a solo experience. And if you are, you're not going to really, I think, see Redfall shine the way it may in co-op, which again goes back to, I think the user score and the fan reception is going to be far more important than anything a critic has to say. I think there'll be a wide gap between the two. That'll be my other gut check on it.
Yeah, I'm pushing for lordsgaming.net for the co-op thing. I know I'm being greedy, but I want to push for that experience just to see what if we feel shortchanged, it being in the multiplayer space. And narratively, can a good co-op story be told from them? That's another thing, right? So yeah, we'll see, man. It's a big question. A lot of question marks coming in, but by next week we're gonna be talking. I can't wait. We finally there.
Yeah, right. It's actually kind of exciting. The last thing I want to throw in there is like kind of a big moment for the Dukes, right? This is like the first big first party outside of Hi-Fi Rush Bethesda game that's been marketed, that we've had a build up to. We've had a story leading into it, a narrative leading into it. And we get to talk about it for a show. And we'll, by the way, many will remember when we were doing some of the writings at the start of the year, we'll do our review cast spoiler discussion. We kind of wiped the slate clean because we didn't really deliver on that in 2022. We were like, let's hit the reset button. We'll do it on the big ones. We're going to start that with Redfall, so don't worry. We'll have that covered, no doubt about it. But yeah, this is kind of exciting for us as like a show. Like this is that first step into where we want to be as a show, where we're starting to gain some momentum, and we got something to talk about that is like tangible. It's there.
Yes,
we'll both probably be. Well, we both will be, because the game will be out even publicly, let alone review codes, before the show goes live. So we'll have thoughts on it. So I'm excited. Like as a host, I'm really excited for our show.
It's a big deal for us. This is huge. I mean, we both got to cover this game, and like I said, this is what we're hoping. This continuity for game releases, and now that we're in the era of here come the games, right? So in alignment with the Duke's Rising. So this is kind of cool. It's kind of fun.
It is cool. So we'll see. But I think you put it perfectly. A lot of question marks going into this one. I really do think it's anybody's guess, but I think there is a cap to this game in the terms of Metascore, and I don't think it goes above mid-80s, but I would put it in the low, because I think Arcane games as a style, like unless this game is buggy and broken, which it has the chance to be, that's what I think will sink it. But I think if it's a competent Arcane game, I don't see how it doesn't go into the low 80s, but we'll see. It's a possibility people are familiar with their style. They're like, it's not working with me here. A lot of factors going in. So I'm with you. Tons of anomalies, but me, low 80s. That's where I'm going with it. We'll see.
No doubt.
This is a really quick one I wanted to blaze through, because I think it's a fair question to ask of our show. But I think it's one that if we talk about briefly, it'll make a little bit more sense. So Shadi Haddad writes, Maddie, more of a question and curiosity. Why do you cover news unrelated to Xbox on the show? I recall a few weeks ago you discussing the Final Fantasy 16 previews and thinking, why are we bothering discussing a PS5 exclusives preview footage on an Xbox show? Thanks for the show. My pleasure, Shadi. And I'm happy to answer this, because the way I try to thread the needle with this show is we are Xbox focused, no doubt about it. You can tell by where we park our car and get out and have a chat, right? And so I'm really rolling with the cognizance this show.
You in it right now.
I really wasn't even trying on that one. But when you think of where we stop and pause for that conversation, it is Xbox centric. But I think for us to thrive as a show, for us to be the best, we have to we don't want to be fanboys just cheering for one team. You know, like when I watch hockey, I love the New York Rangers. I love the Edmonton Oilers. I don't just watch those teams, though. I watch other teams. I like to see what they're up to and pay attention to how they're building. How's the competition going? I will watch a Phillies game if I'm as a Mets fan, because I want to see what the competition's stacking up to be like. It's me doing my own scouting report. I view it a lot like that's where Colin and I are very similar as hosts. We both take a very sports-like approach to our podcast, I think. I view it as us doing the scouting report. Like, we're not going to be in the dark here on PlayStation, and I don't want to create the reputation for our show that we're a bunch of Xbots who just shoot from the hip on PlayStation, and be able to show off that we are educated in all forms of the games industry. Love it. And also that these are important things that need talking about. There is a reality, and I don't mean this as a flex. People just want to hear us talk about games, though. And so they don't care about what team. And we want to make sure we honor that. But there's a need for our podcast, and it's for the Xbox audience, and we make sure to satiate that. You'll see by our 2 pieces of news this week in the news section, both Xbox related. That's how I structure the show. But I like to talk about non-Xbox stuff, because when we're so too centralized, I think, on Xbox as to our core, that is where I think you get into that fanboyish, ignorant territory that we strive so hard to not be a part of, and why I think we are the best show available for people who want to get into the Xbox ecosystem, because we deliver. I mean, can you listen to this episode and try to tell us that we're out here like rallying and waving the flag? Like, we've been shitting on them all episode. It's not going to stop.
We give them the smoke when it's deserved.
Yeah, and so I just think it's important, and you got to honor and acknowledge the top dog right now. That's PlayStation, and so when they got Final Fantasy, which is something Xbox fans are missing, that's where our specialty comes in. It's like, okay, let's talk about what we like about it, but also from the angle of like what Sacred Symbols probably wouldn't do, which is like, why is it missing on our platform? Let's have that conversation. So that, as the showrunner. That's how I think about it. Let's make a strong gaming show with an Xbox focus rather than just a strong Xbox show individually, because I think that's far less appealing.
No, you're on fire. And that's why I love doing the show, because I'm in complete agreement. The sports analogy was perfect. You know, I'm a hardcore Niner fan, but in football, I got to pay attention to what's going on in the rest of the division. Okay, what are the Seahawks doing? Okay, what are the Rams doing? Like you have to pay attention. And also, okay, if we get out of the West, the NFC, what's the AFC doing, right? You know what I'm saying? Who might be potential matchups, and look at good organizations and see, okay, yeah, this Mahomes dude, this is a great quarterback. Like there's differences. Like you have to, like you said, almost like an advanced scouting report. See what everyone's doing, follow the industry trends, and then it makes it better because you can still be a fan of something and have a preference, but it's okay to acknowledge when other people are doing stuff great in the space as well. So, yep, I'm all for it. And in this particular case with the Final Fantasy, there's still a potential chance. Maybe that'll roll this acquisition. Maybe not. Maybe the exclusivity thing ends. Maybe not. Those type of things. So it's good to have the context.
Absolutely. And we're also fans of other things. I mean, that's the I don't know how else to put it. Like, there's a lot of games Xbox puts out that I'm not clearly crazy about. I don't think I've actually really had a chance on this show outside of the games I review to show my strength in the Xbox portfolio, because most of the shit that I know a ton about is long in development. Like, we'll see the true Maddie with Redfall, with Starfield. Like, that's where I can come out and play. But when they're dropping like Forza and Age of Empires, like
that's your bag.
Yeah, I got my specialty. I know my strengths and weaknesses. I'm not going to pretend.
Honest. No doubt.
So thank you, Shadi, for writing in. We really appreciate the investment in the show, the questions, and we're always happy to answer that stuff. All right, let's move into the big one here.
Here we go.
Oh, shit. Let's do it. Number one. It's a big day for Xbox, who needed a significant win after weeks of fans beating them down. Following the FTC's move to block the Xbox-Activision deal, things are now beginning to look a little grim. The CMA, who seemed poised to approve the deal, has opted to move to block it alongside the FTC. The UK regulatory outlined that Microsoft failed to address their cloud gaming issues. I'm going to warn you all in advance. Maddie's going to be reading for a little bit here. There's a lot of quotes to go through. Here's what the CMA had to say. Quote, "The final decision to prevent the deal comes after Microsoft's proposed solution failed to effectively address the concerns in the cloud gaming sector, outlined in the Competition and Markets Authority's provisional findings published in February. The cloud allows UK gamers to avoid buying expensive gaming consoles and PCs and gives them much more flexibility and choice as to how they play. Allowing Microsoft to take such a strong position in the cloud gaming market just as it begins to grow rapidly would risk undermining the innovation that is crucial to the development of these opportunities. Given the remedy only applies to a definite set of Activision games, which can be streamed only in a defined set of cloud gaming services, provided they are purchased in a defined set of online stores, there are significant risks of disagreement and conflict between Microsoft and cloud gaming service providers, particularly over a 10-year period in a rapidly changing market. Accepting Microsoft's remedy would inevitably require some degree of regulatory oversight by the CMA. By contrast, preventing the merger would effectively allow market forces to continue to operate and shape the development of cloud gaming without this regulatory intervention." End quote. Following the results, Brad Smith issued a statement on his personal Twitter account where he posted, quote, "We remain fully committed to this acquisition and will appeal. The CMA's decision rejects a pragmatic path to address competition concerns and discourages technology innovation and investment in the United Kingdom. We have already signed contracts to make Activision Blizzard's popular games available on 150 million more devices. And we remain committed. Yeah, imagine, right? It's 150 more. That's all we got. That's all we got. 150 million more devices. And we remain committed to reinforcing these agreements through regulatory remedies. We're especially disappointed that after lengthy deliberations, this decision appears to reflect a flawed understanding of this market and the way the relevant cloud technology actually works." End quote. Microsoft had said it originally wants to close the acquisition of Activision by July 18th. And now with two major regulatory bodies against the deal, that date seems unrealistic. If the appeal fails, it is very likely that Microsoft will pay the $3 billion cancellation fee to Activision and potentially even walk away. Following the news, the stock market reacted in a fascinating way, speaking to Microsoft's true value to their investors. Activision stock fell 11%, but shares of Microsoft were trading higher after it reported strong earnings on Tuesday, with a 7% rise the day this news hit. Alongside this announcement of the strong quarterly earnings, Satya Nadella spoke a little on Xbox's pipeline. Quote, "We are rapidly executing on our ambition to be the first choice for people who want to play great games whenever, however, and wherever they want. We set third quarter records for monthly active users and monthly active devices. Across our content and service business, we are delivering on our commitment to offer gamers more ways to experience the games they love. Our revenue from subscriptions reached nearly $1 billion this quarter. This quarter, we also brought PC Game Pass to 40 new countries, nearly doubling the number of markets where available. Great content remains the flywheel beyond our growth. We have now surpassed 500 million lifetime unique users across our first-party titles. And I've never been more excited about our pipeline of games, including the fourth quarter launches of Minecraft Legends and Redfall," end quote. Microsoft has reported that its fiscal quarter ending March 31st, 2023, was the second best Q3 for Xbox revenue. Microsoft said revenue from Xbox content and services, which is by far Xbox's biggest money generator, was up 3% year over year, driven by growth in Game Pass. However, as we saw with last week's show of Defining Duke, console sales are plummeting. Xbox hardware revenue was down 30% on a prior year comparable that benefited from increased console supply. Overall, that, by the way, their quote, not mine. Overall, the final revenue count settled in at a whopping $3.59 billion for the quarter. While all this goes on, Microsoft's strongest opponent during the battle of the merger in Sony has declined to comment on the ruling by the CMA as of this time. Wreck-It Roosh writes in, "You guys know what we want to hear your take on this week. I don't even need to ask the question. So, Cog, we shall oblige and admire the confidence here. A lot going on here. I mean, we always joke about it being Duke's Day on Wednesdays, man. But But they really poured out the news today, it seems. In that last 24 hours leading up to our show, a lot happened. Obviously, most notably, the CMA moving to block the deal. A lot to go through, and boy, do we need Hogue Law more than ever. So I'll put in a little call, but I'm sure he's busy, and I'm trying to really respect. Like I'm already seeing people, not calling, by the way. I'm seeing a lot of people pull for guests, and I'm like, boys, girls, guy just had a stroke. Like maybe let the man do his thing before asking him to come on your show. So I'm trying to respect that, but
absolutely,
I'll see what he can do. Cog, what do you make of what's going on here with the CMA? Is it political? Are you surprised by their findings here that it's to address cloud gaming issues? Lord acquisition, is it over? Is it over? There's so many ways we can go into this, but take the stage, man. Go off for as long as you'd like.
Yeah. This is a big one. This is the big one, man. Initial feel was surprise. The reason being is that, prior to this happening, earlier in the week and earlier last week, we started to hear rumblings.
Yeah.
CMA's looking to be, alleviate their concerns. They don't seem to, they actually outright kind of suggested that they don't feel, Call of Duty being on, multiple platforms within ABK with the deal and Game Pass is even an issue. So we start to get that energy. So this really showed that the overall thought process, which I've always felt about, and I've been consistent, we here at Sony cannot exist without the platform. This would harm competition without Call of Duty. There's nothing like it. That has been debunked theoretically by the CMA. So Sony's arguments are not the key thing here. The sad part is,
I'm glad you said that, because that was the first takeaway for me right away. Continue.
Bro, everything they were saying for months and months has been disproven. And that was the thing I got frustrated at, because if it was just from a fairness standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, consumers going to have more choice where to play Call of Duty at, other platforms, as well as, cloud or whatever, as well as in a service like Game Pass, which they don't have to spend $7. I've always felt that was pro-consumer. If you're looking from a consumer standpoint, it's cut and dry. It's not even, so I try to take my emotionality out of it, because I was like, that just makes common sense, and then see, okay, well, what is the CMA's response to that? And they got on point with where I was at. So this is one of those things where I hate being right on the other thing. And remember, Maddie, even though I still have stood on my square that I feel the deal should go through, There was one thing I've always said. The thing that I've always felt was a concern, even though it's a nascent market, is cloud. I've always said Microsoft is very strong in Azure infrastructure and backbone. And if anything could thwart this deal, I, as a techie, felt it's cloud. Now, cloud never really came up prior to this, right? Cloud never really got it. They talked about it, streaming and this, but it never really. And I gotta be honest, I read the CMA's response. There is some truth to it. It's not like complete nonsense to me. Like, if I'm looking at it objectively, and trust me, I'm the guy that wants the deal to go through. I'm Lord Acquisition. Be clear, but I gotta be objective. I read it and I'm like, okay. Part of their thing is, even though it's a nascent market, there is fear because they've already got the infrastructure, the backing. You put Call of Duty, you have Activision Blizzard games in this space that, Microsoft is setting themselves up to be dominant in a future state, a future multiverse. We have to admit there is some potential truth to that.
I would agree.
We cannot say that, they out of pocket for that. That's wrong. Like, I can't go that far with it. Now, where the counter argument stays, okay, look, you're talking about a market that doesn't exist yet. You're talking about, okay, hey, Microsoft has gone up to all these different cloud providers and said, hey, giving you a 10-year deal. Not only Call of Duty, Activision, Blizzard games, right? Giving you a 10-year deal. Here's a 10-year. They're doing Oprah, right? 10-year, everybody in there. So we're good, right? We're good. Let's go, CMA, let's go. And CMA is like, nah. Like, so this is what I get out of it. Clearly, they didn't feel that was enough, right? Now, the only thing I will say maybe that they would have looked for is, okay, Luna is out there. Let's be honest, right? Luna is out there as a competitor. So maybe they feel, okay, you're giving it to those guys, but these guys ain't truly threats to your potential reign in the space. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's the case. And I would be surprised, if Microsoft, was kind of holding that back for a concession thing. But then there's another part of me. And again, it's just tough because we're talking about a future that does not exist yet. And this is the part I do understand Microsoft's frustration, because it's like, well, what if, all right, 10 years down the road, I know nobody likes cloud, nobody likes mobile. We get it. But let's say 10 years down the road, streaming is where that's at.
Okay.
We are at that point where some device comes in and, man, we are here, or with latency and blah, blah, blah. There's a thing that's like, okay, well, if you're Microsoft, you're like, well, if you're cutting us off now and you're saying we could be the dominant player in the space and there's no one else, what if Microsoft is the only one to take it to that said future and they're willing to deal with the regulatory bodies and capitulate to whatever demand you tell me? See, the key is the key. And again, we need Hogue for this. This is just cog off the top, tech off the top. The key is, if you're scared of this so-called future, then give me the concessions you need to feel comfortable. You have to offer
points.
Oh, my bad.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I was just like, that was the number 2. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all I'm saying. Because again, this is objective cog. Forget I don't care about Call of Duty. I don't care about. Listen, would it come in? Great, awesome. But I'm just being objective. So if I'm Microsoft, I go, okay, CMA, you blocking it. We gave 10 years. What do you want us to do so you feel comfortable about this potential future where we're Skynet of cloud and streaming, right? And then you tell us, give it to Luna, give it to Stadia, or whoever, right? Done. Then, okay. So that's where the CMA loses me, because it's like, you're not giving me the reasons as to what we can do to remedy. You just say, no, you can't have it, no one, that's it. No.
That's where it looks a little political to me.
That part, exactly. Objective cog doesn't just, and I'm not, this could be Sony fighting the CMA. I'll be like, bro, that don't sound right. Like, these guys, this is a future that has not been established, and you won't tell me the things that you need to alleviate your concern. So that's the part where I'm like, nah. But again, I'll defer to Hogue. I'll defer to any other true experts of mergers and acquisitions. The last point I'll say is, look, I've been on record for saying I think this deal should go through and will go through. This is the first time I'm looking a little spooky right now. And I'll be honest, right now, here's where it really get spooky. I think it's May 20 something. Now, if the EU says we blocked the deal, Microsoft, you can't have it in the EU.
Throwing up the wrong kind of X.
Now, that's the block. That's the block. Shout out to my man J-Dub. He had a funny, oh my God, J-Dub's hilarious. He's such a troll. But, then we got to say, you got to walk away. Because are you willing, if you're Microsoft, are you willing to fight a war on 3 territories? Mm-hmm. The US with the FTC, the UK, the CMA, the EU. And people got to understand, the EU, here's the thing. Let me give a positive spin to it. If the EU says, Microsoft, we good. That's all. Like, UK is just London, and it's just that small, you know what I mean?
Man, would it be perfect for that story? I mean, like, perfect in the sense that it would just only make this all the more bewildering. The whole story.
Now, then it would kind of show that maybe there was some posturing of political whatever. But I will say this: if the EU says, Microsoft, we're good, Call of Duty, whatever, you best believe Microsoft is going to trudge through with this deal. And then they will go, US, you get it. EU, every other country except the UK. And then the CMA will be in a position, because then it could be like, you if you're in London, you're in Britain, every Microsoft Game Pass, Call of Duty is available, but not for you. Like, bro, you an Xbox gamer in UK, you fire up Xbox and everybody having but it's the Squidward joint, right? And you like, what's that about? You gonna go to your local parliament or whoever and be like, what? This is unfair. Like, why are we objectified to this? And that's what Microsoft is hoping for, because we can start that conversation again. So this is a very critical month. I will say this is the first time I was like, okay, the deal might be in danger. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a significant blow. We thought they would get past this. They're not. EU is critical. If EU goes through, there's hope, because then they could just bully through and then forget you, and then they can still operate and be fine. If it doesn't, now we got to talk this sad reality now. Sad reality, EU blocks. You block the court. Is Microsoft really going to fight that? I don't know. Now you're talking about you owe Activision, what is it, $3 billion or whatever? Yeah, you got to pay that money?
Yeah.
Then we got to talk, okay, what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do now? Because then it shows, it's the last point I'll say. I know I'm talking long.
You're good. I told you to go as long as you want.
I appreciate it. Then you got to say, what this signifies to me, and maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion, is that the industry is okay with exclusive and exclusionary deals and practices. They are okay with getting a game, yanking it off platforms and making it exclusive to yours and that stuff. And although Microsoft doesn't like to do that type of business anymore, because everything is in, cloud and Game Pass and subscription, that's where they want to go, they may have to reevaluate. Mm-hmm. They will probably still acquire. I think the difference comes down to what Hogue said on Ultimate one time, which is we always asked him, like, if the Activision thing goes through, they got to stop with the publishers, right? And he's like, no. It all comes down to the number. It's once you got 67 billion, that's when the red flags go off by everybody. You notice Sony acquired Bungie. What's that joke expression? Nobody better than I. Nobody, right? So if you go back in the millies or the Segas or whatever, then you can still acquire other things. So it's going to be interesting. This is a critical month. Very surprising. Didn't see this one happening based on the positive news we heard before. And they're going to have to pivot if it does. But stay tuned for the EU. I think that's the big domino here on what happens next. And yeah, wild times we are in right now.
Yeah. I mean, great talking points across the board, man. Just absolutely perfectly done. I am pretty much in agreement with everything you said, to the point where I don't know what a value I can truly add to the conversation beyond that. It was just point to point. I think it really does come down to the EU verdict. If anyone's looking for that shred of hope, I do think it comes down to that. If that doesn't go through, I would be of the mindset it's over, because then you got to account for the lawyer fees and the amount they got to spend in court across 3 different countries to get this done with, and also the time it takes. Part of the reason Xbox is doing these acquisitions, let's be honest, Okay. We all know this, but they're trying to expedite the process. We have seen what happens when they buy a studio. You're ours now. Finish what you're up to, then get to work on our games. We've seen how long you got to wait for that. And it's only going to get longer with game development. Activision pumps out games like it's no one's business. They have a pretty big series that comes out every year. So Microsoft having that was key for them because they really put a lot of eggs in the basket for this one. And obviously it's not definitively over until Microsoft says we're out. But we're getting to that realistic point now where it is starting to truly look like it's getting dark for them.
It's getting spooky.
You know, the FTC was a moment where people were like, oh, it's an overreaction. They'll challenge them in court. I think Microsoft's got people who are floating. This is a political game, and this is just theorizing. But I do think they got people in the building who are spitting out other narratives to try to sway the public and just get a reaction out of this in a sense where it's like, what? Because the New York Post, by the way, who had wrongly reported back in December that the FTC would allow the deal to go through. Now, obviously, we know what happened in December. It got blocked. That picture of Phil Spencer was taken at the Game Awards. The rest is history. They had said that Microsoft is preparing to close the Activision Blizzard deal despite the FTC's attempts to block it in December, and that they are going to cram this down the FTC's throat with European approvals. Now, that actually still could be part of the plan, as you mentioned, with EU. They could try to go on a stampede with that and just run as it with their ace in the hole. But the reason I'm not super confident about it is the politics in it, bro. Is the politics in the, you know, you're going to be the EU sitting there looking at the CMA, looking at the FTC, and you're going to be the one to give it the green light. And just part of me doesn't buy into that actually happening. But if Microsoft does get that sliver of hope, I think they're going to run with it. And that's what they're holding out for more than anything. But otherwise, we really need to have that conversation, unfortunately, of what Xbox looks like without this deal. It's been a long road for all of us. It started over a year ago. We've tried to open that door multiple times. A lot of people have slammed it shut on us. No, can't talk about other acquisitions. Can't talk about other deals. Look, I'm going to go back, man. I'm going to go back to square one, right? Number one, I should offer just some brief thoughts on what the UK said, because I did say I agree with you. I just want to specify what. Yeah, I was right there with you. Well, I've had some pretty raw takes on this show about the deal that have not gone over well with our audience. I know I have been consistent on one thing. I'm not going to act like I'm going to over pat myself on the back like I know everything about these mergers. But you and I were in unison in that the cloud gaming was the eyebrow raiser. That was the new thing, the fearful thing. And I do get where the CMA is coming from, saying like 10-year deals to Ubitus. Who the fuck is that, Microsoft? Like you're really balancing the competition, man, by feeding the cloud market these games. Right. Like I kind of get where they're coming from. I get their fears on that. My shock does, again, same as you, come in the form of like, well, what can Microsoft do? Do they have to offer a 20-year deal so you have more time to renege? There's nothing we can do that's indefinite with any evolving market. So that's why, again, it falls into that more political play for me, where I'm like, I don't know, like your argument is sensible, but upon like closer inspection, I'm not feeling you as much as I feel like I should be. And that's where it starts to fall apart. But that's the only thing I wanted to add on that. What we really got to take a look at is what I think a possibility of this deal not going through, because, you know, you got to, number one, look at the communal standpoint. A lot of Xbox fans kind of put their eggs in this basket of like, yeah, for sure. It doesn't matter that Redfall's got 30 FPS. It doesn't matter that Minecraft Legends got 77 on Metacritic. It doesn't matter that we skipped the Game Awards. We got Activision on the way. And if the cavalry doesn't come and you're left out there without reinforcements in the middle of battle, you're going to be fighting a losing war now. And if this does get blocked, Microsoft has to be, I'm not going to mince words here, aggressive as fuck on third-party deals for exclusivity. Not because I'm vying for it, but if I'm them and you're looking at the average consumer, you have not delivered this generation in many ways. You have now lost your ace in the hole that was going to be insane Game Pass value potentially, right? And when you lose all of that, you got to get into that bank account that was about to go in one direction and immediately start throwing lump sums of cash that you're ready to spend elsewhere. Otherwise, I do think you risk losing a chunk of your fan base. I don't think this is Xbox One detrimental if it doesn't go through.
Right.
Xbox has enough in the pipeline to justify, I think, sticking around. I'm not going to doom and gloom them on that. But I do think for the new person coming in, this was the moment of intrigue where you're like, you can revive some of my IP.
Absolutely.
The Blizzard net and all that stuff. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting BattleNet. Getting all these PC clients, the idea of, we talked about during Sacred Symbols Cross DD, World of Warcraft sliding its way into Game Pass, what that means. There was a lot there. It would have a substantial seismic impact. And now you got to find a way to have that seismic impact elsewhere. And the reason I brought all these numbers up for earnings for Microsoft, for the amount of money they made, is because it's showing to me, when you look at investors and you look at the overall revenue of Microsoft, the truth has always been there that Xbox still is a small component of the success of Microsoft. However, what we did see here, based on what Satya said, what the numbers we saw, is that hardware sales are going down, content and services are going up. That's Game Pass. That's Game Pass money that quarter. The reason that's important to note is that's why this deal is paramount to their success. Yes. They need to feed that thing because they are not selling consoles. They're selling subscriptions. So that's why they need games.
Down and what's up.
And that's why they need to pivot. That's why if this goes through, if I'm them, and I'm not, nor would I know what the talks about, but you got to prepare that pivot on the off chance. I'm not saying go start picking up the phone and making calls, but really take an honest look at the list that you can peruse and who may be a spending option in the terms of getting a game exclusively or day one Game Pass, whatever it may be. Feed the thing that's making money. And I think that's what's going to happen, because that's what this deal was for, among many other things. Mobile was a big part. But when you look at the Xbox division, you look at Microsoft as a company, you look at what's making them money, and the fact that they had, to one fan base, catastrophic news, and their shares went up 7%, says that this does not steer their ship, and nor should they force it if it's not going to work in their favor. And so if they can get it done, I hope they do, because I'm also pro Activision joining the squad. But I really do think we have to think of what that pivot looks like. And I've always said that now that the malice energy is there, I'm not projecting when I say I just think they will go scorched earth. They got enough money to do it. They're going to be pissed off. We've seen the 1990s kind of era of Microsoft when they're pissed off, a little edgy. I could see that energy coming out, man, because at a certain point, and again, this is going to sound doom and gloom, but I'm just trying to speak very matter-of-factly, because as a fan, again, I recognize there are great things about this platform. I'm not going to act like this. If this spelled the doom for you, to me, you weren't in the first place. You didn't understand Starfield, Hellblade. I'm not trying to draw that line in the sand. No, but to me, I think it spells you weren't looking at other things, just what was the hot new acquisition. But there is a degree of they have to, again, be really genuinely prepared for the pivot and to supply this beast, because that's what the revenue is showing, man. That is what makes them money. So how they do it, I think truly it's going to go that scorched earth, and they're going to go hard, because I think they're going to need to. Because again, it goes back to what I was just about to say. It's embarrassing for them. Maybe not for the consumer. We still get good value in Game Pass. Cloud gaming is still great. There's good looking exclusives on the way. We'll see how Redfall pans out. That statement could age poorly. But as a brand, you have to have some sense of pride. And this goes back to silver medal specialist. If y'all are content and this fails and you do nothing, just be okay with second place. If that's all you're okay with, then that's how it'll be. And we as a show will adjust. We'll understand. Okay, we'll continue to just little Xbox. You're trying, Jimmy.
No, you ain't hit a little Xbox.
You're trying. Good try.
Not the little
Like the dude
Xbox.
Standing, like you watch a kid at T-ball, he fucking hits the tee and not the ball at all. You're like, yeah, run. Dude didn't even hit the fucking ball.
Not like this, Matty. Oh no, little Xbox Eddie. Listen, man. I hear you. Look, it would be a catastrophic blow. There's no doubt, right? Them not getting this after all the investment, all the talk and the predictions and yada yada yada.
Flying the planes, all that.
Yeah, flying the planes and doing all this. Look, we get it. I can't completely blame them. They shot their shot.
Oh yeah, I'm not blaming them. Yeah. I should say that.
Yeah, I know you're not. I know you're not. You're not blaming them. The way I look at it is, I look at it as this was the ultimate opportunist move, which was Activision Blizzard was a sinking ship. All type of bad negative publicity coming out there. It's in disarray. Oh, by the way, they have put feelers out for sale. We better get on that. That's a great opportunist move. I will never knock them for not shooting their shot and try this. What we're realizing is the political nature and the scope and the scale of this deal is what could ultimately undo it if it gets blocked. So now let's just put this multiverse out there, right? Where EU says no, it's over, right? Okay, fine. For me, I'm a little different approach. My thing is you have shown that you don't want to do exclusive deals. You don't want to play that game. So you're playing services, you're playing cloud. So what you need to do is when the Final Fantasy 7s and the 16s and all that stuff come, they cannot miss your platform because your bag is going to be big. Mm-hmm. And you are going to put your finger on the pulse of what's popping. And you may have to overspend a little so that these are day one Game
right?
Pass.
They were paying a premium on the shares. Yeah.
You're playing a premium. So now you have to you may have to do that for the third party stuff. You need to grow Game Pass. Game Pass is your end game. The reason why Phil is here is because of Game Pass. And guess what? We saw the revenue, right? As far as subscription services, that part's up. So we're not going to act on some level. It is proving that Game Pass is profitable for them. We have to say, now, granted, I don't like with consoles being down. I don't like 30%. I don't like the other numbers. But I do recognize if you're looking at the actual thing that they are hitching themselves to, there was an increase there. So now it becomes feed that beast. Feed that beast, right? So if it comes down to another publisher or small developer studio, great. But to me, it should all hands on deck should be for Game Pass and to get games short term, and then they're gonna have to repivot. But yeah, that's my initial feel on it because marketing as well. We got to talk about marketing for this great service in these other territories that you really are not doing a great job. You have to allocate there. You got to tighten up. And then let's be real, the elephant in the room is mismanagement. Right. So if the elephant in the room is mismanagement, then it's time to really have a focused effort with all the ones that you do have. Right. And really, because a lot of people say, hey, I don't want them to have it. I will give people this. There's a lot of people out here bad faith arguments with why they don't want Activision, but I'm not buying this death of the industry garbage. Miss me with that. That I am not. The whole industry is consolidated. All this, you just don't like Microsoft, you don't like Xbox, and these people got this personal hatred for the platform, and that is spilling into this death of the industry. These people don't care about the industry because they all day on Twitter tweeting about that and not playing no games. But that's another thing. Second of all, we got to get to really focusing on. I will give them this. Focus on what you do have, right? 23, 26, or whatever it is. Make sure that you are lockstep and key with all the projects. Make sure Maddie gets a team for Fallout, a team for Elder Scrolls. Make sure you get all these things at your core. Here's the Rise to, come on, Crytek.
You're calling for, let me just not to cut you off, but you're calling for kind of what PlayStation did, which is take that money and just invest in yourself.
Right, you can still do that. You could still do that. I mean, I've always felt you could do ABK and this. Like, I understand it's a big undertaking, but you could walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. You're Microsoft. Let's not act like it's impossible. But in the event that doesn't happen, you shot your shot, you didn't get the home run. Okay, cool. Get down there and fix all this, tighten up ship, tighten it up, reband with Game Pass, invest heavy. No game should be missing this service. Period. Or everybody get in line. Okay, how much we got to do to make this right, Square? Let's go. Boom. Unless you're required, here you go. We know you like this, and now we got this in spades. You know what I'm saying? Reinvest and then mess with the other Sobo. There's people out there. There's Sega still out there. There's still people. Capcom's out there. There's still stuff out there. So that's it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's where I'm at with it. You know, I'm gonna die on the ship with my prediction. Even though it's all down to the EU right now. I'm dying on the ship.
I EU flag going under the water.
Common sense still makes sense to me. But hey, if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then it's something bigger than what it is. But we'll see what happens. This is a big month. This is a big month for sure. Yeah. In the critical nature.
And let's not miss the fact that this is all happening right before the showcase. This number one takes the possibility of it being confirmed that the showcase, the deal is done, which was already a 10% chance. It's off the table now. It's not happening. But what this has the chance to do, man, is exactly what happened last year. And that, I will say, I feel bad for Microsoft because this one they kind of didn't do to themselves, is that it could be that blow to the morale right before the showcase, that 2022 delay before you see Redfall.
I didn't think about that. Right. If the EU blocks and then it happens right before in June, you get the negative spin coming in, like almost like Game Awards energy. Like he gets blocked, he got to come to the show and sit there with the blocked energy. I feel it. You can't, that's not his fault. I mean, it's just the time that would suck. Yeah, I agree.
Definitely, you look, I'll be honest, going into last year's showcase, it was hard to kind of shake it off. Like Starfield looked amazing, but it was that feeling of like, it's not soon. It's not soon, man. And I'm the Bethesda Game Studios lover, but with a capital L, okay? But like, even I was feeling that. So I can only imagine how some other people were feeling. Like, it felt like almost there goes the future again. When are we going to get this one? And I just feel like when you combine that with it's the cascading effect, right? Now people are going to start to feel a little sore that Starfield's in September. Now people are going to start to feel a little sore about Redfall, FPS, whatever else is going to be 30 FPS from them. Because make no mistake, I really do think Hellblade's going to be in that. And I'm not trying to perpetuate that.
We hope.
But I hope it's not. But I just really feel like we're trending in that direction where if this does happen, if they do, EU comes out, it's blocked. Sorry, Microsoft, not happening. And it's right before the showcase. Like, I think there's going to be some negative juju going into that. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. You got to swing hard, Microsoft. Like, this is not, I wouldn't say this is your go hard or go home show, but this might be. It might set the tone for your next 24 months of like, this is why you believe in the brand. Like, it has to be a statement show more than ever. And I know they can only pivot so much. These shows take forever for them to plan, they say. And I believe them on that. A lot of stuff comes together last minute, but there should be a line of communication. Not, how can we get this deal through? Start thinking the opposite, in my eyes. Start thinking, if it doesn't go through, what are we doing? Is our show good? Is our brand not going to look like total shit when we get embarrassed in a public setting by the FTC or something like that? You got to start. I get it. Microsoft's a big, invincible, unfathomably profitable company. I get it. But I think they really got to take a good look at the Xbox brand and start. How can we gain some street cred?
No, real talk. No, I'm with you. I'll spoil a little bit of bars that I felt that you were really spitting on the crossover show, which is the the mindset of the Xbox fan, right? And you talk about the second place, you talk about, I'm joking, second class citizen energy. Mm-hmm. That is the reality of this base. We got to just call it right now. For as much, again, Hi-Fi Rush, fantastic win. I'm not going to sit there that the output of Game Pass games have not been great. Wolong, Atomic Heart, we're starting to see positive things. There's no doubt. I don't want to doom and gloom this, but I will say, we have to be honest, this is a base that is starving for the reward, being rewarded for their loyalty, because every time they look, oh, it's not on our platform. Oh, it's 30 frames per second. It's always an asterisk. It's always a but. There's always some catch as to why they can't experience the things that other platforms experience, whether Nintendo and PlayStation, or the delivery of games. So you owe it to this base to really show out, because again, not that it's your fault that the deal got blocked, but now with this showcase, like Maddie said, there'd be a negative energy coming in if the EU then blocks it and made it right before June, right before your showcase. It is imperative that you pull out all the stops to let everyone know, no, you are safe still staying and being loyal to this ecosystem. And this is why. This is what we got for you. This is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. This is what's going on. Mm-hmm. Remember this that you asked for? Bam. Okay, here we go. And then you get that up, because right now, let's be honest, the temperature in the room, the angry mob is ready, bro. They're waiting. Mess up again. Like they go, you know what I'm saying? It's like that relationship. It's like, all right, you mess up again. Like they've had it. Yeah, they've had, and you cannot blame them when you come off a 2022 that you had, right? Mm-hmm. People are gonna say, how did you put yourself in that position? You should have never been in that position. Now you put all this pressure on 2023, which is why COG hated 12 months. So remember, everything you see at 12, all that kind of backfired, right? So now you come into, you're like, okay, Activision's going to go down. Damn, that ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see, it starts to snowball and everybody go, that was going to be there too, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You start to become the boy that cry wolf, and people get tired of that. And it's imperative. So again, I'm not dooming and glooming. They are having a solid beginning of the year. I'm still standing on my square that they're going to have a solid end of the year. But it's up to you to really reinvigorate this base. This base is loyal, and they deserve, and they need to be rewarded.
I agree. It's starting to feel less and less like, just Starfield can pull them out of the thick of it. They need consistent.
Correct. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be on Starfield.
Oh, if they think Starfield's great, that's one. You got a whole bunch of catching up to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Is they? No, you didn't interrupt. I'm just saying to make sure it's clear for the audience. Like, they really can't just say it was feeling to a degree this year. Like, okay, Redfall 30 FPS. That sucks, but as long as Starfield is that 95 Metacritic experience that we all, it's fine. Yeah. But now it's starting to, as it snowballs, it's starting to feel less and less like one game can do it for them. And again, it just goes back to what we've been saying. They got to get aggressive. They got to, I'm with you on, if you got to take this money back to the bank, reinvest some of this in your teams. If they're all making multiple games, let's find out how we can expedite the process. Let's find out how we can shore up the quality, shore up the defenses. Let's see who we can hire. No contracting. See who we can hire. Let's expand these teams. Not to the point where every team is bloated. 343, I think, just being a great example of what happens when I think you get too big. You just get these divisions that are all at war with each other. But reinvesting is an exciting prospect for sure, especially being on the other end of this. But we'll see. Obviously, we don't want to spell it as completely over until it's truly over. But there's no denying it looks pretty grim right now for Xbox.
No, it's a major blow. This was a major blow to them. Make no mistake about it. Again, I'll stand on my square with it. But it was a major blow. The EU is the last hope. That's the last hurrah as far as that's when I would consider Star
Wars Episode 4. It really is.
It's the last, what is it? It's the Battle of the Bastards. It's Jon Snow, all of the member Bolton's army. He's looking there. It's just him with the sword. And then finally the reinforcement. That's what they said. You hoping for the reinforcements to come with the EU. Because if it don't, then it's going to look spooky. So and I'm glad you had this in the segment of talking about a potential reality that if it doesn't happen, what do they do? So that we have those type of things.
I think it is important because, this is where I think our show shines, because it's not just about it sucks. I think anyone can look at this and go, it sucks. But it's about how do you find not this this fake fanboyish silver lining? How do you find in the midst of all this a realistic turning point for them where they're going to end up as a company? And also the financial realities. I made sure to couple that in because I want to make sure it's clear to our fans that like we already knew Xbox isn't the primary revenue driver, but what component of Xbox that Satya Nadella, the CEO, talks about, what components driving revenue, and whether or not you're having different console supplies, I don't give a fuck, man. There's a 30% drop in your hardware and there's an increase in your services. That's why you're seeing them at the ASUS ROG Ally event.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing them in the Logitech G Cloud. That's why you're seeing them go to all these screens, because that's what's going to drive revenue for this brand moving forward. And it does start to look more and more like, this is why 30 FPS on Redfall on consoles. It's fine, guys. We just launched Game Pass in 40 territories. Like, we just doubled that, man. Like, that's your fan base. Those are the millions of players who are making games.
I get it. What would behoove them, last point I forgot, is if it gets blocked, I think you need to make sure that at the end of the Call of Duty deal that you have the marketing after the end. I think that at the very least,
Activision could do
you should now take advantage of your newfound angry person who don't like Sony. Don't get me wrong, they're going to take that Sony money until that contract runs out. But as soon as it does, I think it behoove you to make your platform the face of Call of Duty and send some of that money for the market. How about some marketing deals from these big third-party games if you don't want it? How about that? How about that? Let's work on that.
Imagine that phone call when when Bobby Kotick calls Jim Ryan. It's like, Jim, Bob. Just like, that cool gonna be tight.
Jim is partying right now.
Oh yeah,
hey, how's it going?
He's feeling good. So
what? They get to keep that revenue? Like what? Oh, Jim is popping off right now. This is wild as Jim. Hey, it was funny. None of his arguments worked. It was. He's like, okay, we got it done. We got it.
He's
done.
The bench player celebrating the championship.
Yo, you didn't bust him tape, but it got done. Shout out to Jim Ryan. He popping bottles right now. He loving this.
I just want to send 2 shout outs to write-ins we got because we kind of answered them in our more deep conversation. When we're getting into those, I just want to make it clear for the audience that I don't, as the host, want to break up like when Cog's on his roll. I don't want to stop and be like, Cog, wait, we got to write in. So I just want to shout out, read them quickly because we answered both of these pretty clearly. Sekron wrote in and said, hey, Dukes, hope you can squeeze this one in spite of it looking optimistic. The CMA just blocked the merger. Microsoft President Brad Smith tweets that they're still committed to this merger, but how much will this set them back by? Thanks for all you do and hope to see you in LA someday. Thank you, Sekron. So we went in depth on that. And then Dirty Flint also wrote, this is one of the best names from me. Hey, Shitwall Maddie and Groundbreaking Cog. Microsoft has posted their finances for the year and things are interesting for Xbox in the moment. While hardware sales were down drastically, this was somehow Xbox's second best non-holiday quarter. What is there to pull from this information? Are we not as smart as we think we are? So again, I think we went in depth on what happened with the financials there. So thank you to Wreck-It Roosh, Sekron, Dirty Flint, everyone for writing in. We hope we did you well on that segment. And with that,
yes.
Cog, let's move on to number 2 here. Final bit of news. Following false reports of a potential underwhelming performance by Hi-Fi Rush, VP of Xbox Games Marketing Aaron Greenberg stepped up to shut down the gossip, saying, quote, Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango Gameworks delivered with this surprise release, end quote. And even John Johannes was getting on Twitter. He's like, oh, that Hi-Fi Rush game, huh? Like he was getting involved. The director was getting involved. Aaron Greenberg was getting involved. Pretty quick to defend this one with all the other things that are spilled out onto the web about Xbox and, the dysfunction, the mismanagement. This is the one they step in to defend. I found that interesting. Cog, what do you make of Hi-Fi Rush being misrepresented? Because I watched Jeff Grubb's video, who he made a good cleanup video. And I do sympathize for him because I will just say I like Jeff's approach as a podcaster because I've always said in this industry that I think information is everything. And I like that Jeff, he's what I would call chatty, but I think that's a good thing because that's to me, it goes back to the sports stuff. Sports is chatty. Like people are always talking, here's what I'm hearing, here's what's going on, here's the rumor, here's the report. And it's never just one guy, right?
Yes,
It's
correct.
always a ton of people. But I feel like
Mhm.
Jeff has that good mindset of, and I know everyone's not his craziest fan here in LSM, but whatever. I'm gonna speak my truth. I feel like I like his approach to just talk on things. But what happens with the games industry is when he just speaks on things, fragments of what he is saying will be taken out of context or grabbed onto, made into articles and blown up far more than what he had expected. So I do sympathize for him, but for those who want to check it out on his Games Mess channel, he did make a good, I would call it a cleanup video, kind of explaining what happened, because he said he felt bad that, like people from Tango come into the office and they see the news and they're like, he's like, they don't deserve that. I think it's a good way of looking at it, but he did a good job explaining the situation and what he was trying to get at, pretty much. But he was trying to explain that they spent this much, as in a higher amount, and they made this much, which was a lower amount. But that doesn't necessarily correlate to success or failure. And he felt he should put it that way. So, shout out to Jeff for cleaning that up well enough.
Yeah, big shout out. Big shout out.
Now with this COG, now Aaron Greenberg stepped out, cleaned it up, said it's a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. And I think it can only do that when you're shadow dropping. You got to feel like, this should do something for us. Otherwise, why, if you're going to measure it and potentially label it a failure, then, why not spend some time marketing it, familiarizing, building around it? But what do you make of what happened on social media the other day for Xbox fandom, where it was looking dark again?
Yeah. Look, people, the headlines were running. Oh, look, see, Hi-Fi Rush. That's a flop. There we go. And look, shout out to Grub, for getting ahead of that. And then also shout out to Greeny in this sense, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, corporate speak. Don't pay that no mind. And I would disagree in this case, because let's be clear. Marketing 101, if the news is true and it's negative news, 9 out of 10, you're going to stay quiet. We go. We're going to throw BS. Bro, we not, listen, that Red 430 phrase came out. You got that? And that was it. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about whatever else or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't focus on the negative, especially if true, right? So to me, them jumping out is a big deal. And let's be honest, when's the last time they really jumped out on news and rumors and speculation, right? So to me, that I internalize that you feel confident about your internal metrics on that particular title. Also, it tells me, let's be real, what are the conditions of this title? This was a stealth drop, right? A stealth drop on a show. And then it starts to get all this traction, all this engagement, high Metacritic, good review. And now we hear that Tango is expanding. To me, you ain't expanding something that is a failure. You're not investing in something that you look at as, this is a sink. You know what I mean? As opposed to, let's be honest, right? What happened with 343? Okay, obviously there was layoffs, but we also know there were shakeups, right? So again, I have to look at it face value. It doesn't make sense to me that they are disgusted. Now, the last thing I say in defense of Grub, listen, sourcing is like anything else. There's levels to it. Somebody source that Grub is messing with, told him what he told him. I'm not going to ever sit here and say Grub's a liar. You know what I'm saying? But there's also levels to it. And then there's also people in the building who, let's be honest, and I've heard this one before. We had Jeff Sawyer on Defining Dude. Sawyer told us to our face, yo, bro, this was my passion project. Nobody really was going to sign off on this joint, but I knew I'm going to shoot my shot now during the acquisition phase. Listen to DDU, the episode we had Sawyer
available
on,
for free to everyone.
Right. So you made to tell me that if, let's just say, I'm Grub or somebody in the building like, yo, Pentiment wasn't as great a success, or, there's people who don't believe in it and be like, yo, I don't know if we should have did that. There's always that in the building. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to the other executives saying, look, no, we need this. We need Obsidian. We have to encourage this kind of behavior because we want them to do this in our Game Pass and have this diverse lineup. So there's always some people who don't agree with certain aspects in the building also, and that could be the case as well. So I just want to be fair to him in that respect for whatever he heard. But I will say, Greeny jumping out in front of this is a big deal. That means they are very happy. what Hi-Fi Rush did for them, and that they continue to invest in Tango.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really speaks to the quality of the game. I think it speaks to how well it did for them. I mean, when you look at the Steam reviews and how people factor out Steam sales, like it definitely sold a good amount of copies, especially for a shadow drop. And and make no mistake that there are different levels of success for every company. When you look at what Ghostwire may have done, what Evil Within 2 may have done, it looked like there was a steady drop off in relevancy for Tango, and now they got this big success. So that's the other way. You got to measure it from your last one, right? Because that's typically how you're going to budget out your game. What did our last one do? Okay, did really well. People like this. Let's spend a little bit more because I think we can get away with it. Oh, they didn't like it. We just went over the news with Arcane. Let's do a small game, and they do Deathloop, right? Which ends up being a bigger game, but you immediately want to condense and see if you can do something small that finds big mainstream success. So no doubt Hi-Fi Rush, I think, was successful by Tango's own metrics, but also it's good to see Xbox did get out in front of it. And I hope this means, again, that we've said this multiple shows, that they're going to continue to support it, because Hi-Fi Rush is a great game. And there's a lot to love about it. Easily one of the top 5 this year. High quality, great art style, awesome characters, highly replayable. So good to hear that it was a breakout hit for us. When they say all key measurements and expectations, do you think that factors in game sales? That is my question, because they always measure success, as we know, time played, engagement, downloads, that type of stuff, right? Subscription service driven company. Do you think sales is a factor here? Because that's the other thing I will say is I think this rumor may have started in, again, Jeff's defense, sort of because the way we look at games is you spent this much, you made this much. But when you look at Microsoft, again, 7% up on a day of pretty catastrophic news for a particular brand, they're fine. They have a ton of money that they can keep dumping into the Xbox brand. But the Xbox brand, we just saw, made $3.59 billion in the last quarter. So doing really well, making a lot of money. So do you think they measure this in sales at all?
I think it's a factor. I think it's like a percentage. Now the question is, what percentage of it is as important to them? But because we do know this game did well on PC, it sold well on PC, so we have that aspect. But to your point, I see them talk user engagement a lot. I see them talk, like you said, hours of play. So to me, I remember a conversation that Sarah Bond had, where it's just like, they looked at how many hours people played that and then what they did next. And then, okay, that led them to downloading this other game. And then they did microtransactions the other day. So whatever key metrics they're utilizing for engagement seems to be one of the major factors for them. And they want people on the service. So I think that also we got to look at Game Pass subscriptions, right? What's the metric that, okay, yeah, there's people who bought it on Steam, so to speak, right? But then there are people that are like, yo, you know what? I can just get PC Game Pass. And if that helped PC Game Pass subscribers go up, then that's a W for them, because they're like, okay, we're seeing these metrics here go up, these metrics. To me, it's like that rising tide kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like lift all boats. So that's the vibe I'm getting. I would love for them to give more detailed, very specific metrics that they haven't done. And I understand why people have their frustration with them. That's fair. But I do think for them to jump out this quickly shows to me that it's more than just sales. And I think that's the struggle for the standard gamer to understand. Everyone is like, yo, where's it at? It hit MPD. Of course it's not going to hit MPD. It was a stealth drop, you know what I'm saying, on a showcase in a game service, right? So that's never going to hit that. And I think a lot of people still, Maddie, mentally struggle with why aren't Xbox games selling when it's launching into a service that they are trying to promote. Service is where they're going, subscription. And if we look at the metrics of their own report, their services went up. Now, granted, they don't like console sales being low. Of course not. But people still struggle with this, and they look at it, oh, it's a failure because they're still using old metrics to define Microsoft success. That's not how it works. They're using a whole new model, and people, I see it all the time. Yeah, see? Bomb. Yeah. No, that's not the same way of measement that they're tracking.
Yeah, and it's definitely not moving the goalposts in this instance either. At all. It's definitely a situation where, we got to really take a hard look at how these companies measure success. And they do things differently, so they should be measured differently, and it's just that simple. But I think a lot of people still are struggling to make that adjustment.
Yeah. Last point I'll say, it reminds me of the record business. And I remember I'm from the era of the album sale, the physical, you went gold, you went platinum. Now it's about the streams and how many do you like it, you see it's a change. And again, a lot of people in
Xbox
gaming
is looking
still,
into a free version of what was it, Game Pass or whatever, with ads playing.
yes, with ads playing
So
and all
that
that
engagement,
stuff.
man, with the right advertisers, they'll just bring
Ad
cash.
revenue, trust me, they're going in a whole nother pocket with this thing. That's all.
Yeah. So that's our news for the week. With that, Cog, we move on to our Game Pass pick of the week. And I didn't know, do you have a review code for this? Is this out?
It's coming tomorrow. I've played it already, but yeah, no, look.
Okay.
I have played it already. You know what I'm saying? But look, I want people to give it a shot. And it's Last Case of Benedict Fox. I've been covering it for a while. People who follow, ILP, Lords of Gaming, this is something that we've had our eye on. They showed it at the showcase. Really cool art style. And I think for me, where it's really, because of my love and affection for Ghostwire right now, with this like demon host kind of bound to your person kind of energy, Benedict is given that. And I love that. You've got the jazz, you got the intrigue, you got the art style. And the thing that surprised me was the combat. And I think there has a potential to really be great. And I think, I'm always going to support the indies that are trying to do something really different. But man, I'm feeling it, man. And I was definitely impressed to see they finally made the announcement. Comes out, as we're recording it, on the 26th, it comes out, tomorrow. And I want people to give it a shot. Give it a shot. It's something different, handcrafted Metrovania, you know what I mean? 20th century little jazz flow. And I like where it seems to be going. The key obviously is going to be, when we end it, does the story nail it all the way what we want? But I think there's a lot of potential here, and I want to challenge people to give it a shot, give little indies a shot, see what's going on.
What's your favorite component of the game? I'm just curious. Is it
my thing is the combat? Okay. Yeah, the combat is what really impressed me, because the abilities, I thought it was just going to be more simplistic and more mystery and going into the mind of what's going on with his family and stuff like that. But it's cool platforming and it's cool combat. And that's the part that really excited me for the potential of this game. Now, obviously, got to get farther and I got to end it, right? So that to me is going to be the ultimate, whether or not it's going to be in the classic realms of these indie games. But they've shown me enough in this initial space to be like, yo, this is worth giving a shot. And I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. So give it a shot. Fires up tomorrow, Last Case of Benedict Fox. See how you like it. Report back to Cog. See if they Cog, you know what, you got this right. I think this one is something really worth checking out. I'd be like, nah, let me know why you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. But I've been championing this one for a while. I'm one of the few that really like Somerville, and I know a lot of people didn't, and I told people, give it a shot, see how you feel about it. And I really love that game from start to finish, and then when I ended it as well. So
this is the business decision one for me, because the Ravenlock's around the
of course,
corner.
it's tough.
But I'm happy to hear it's delivering for you, and it does make me want to check it out. It's funny, I didn't talk about this when I was mentioning Jedi Survivor, but that game has a lot of Metroidvania vibes. Like, I didn't even let anyone know, because I'm sure some of the listeners tuned out by now, but bro, that game has insane 3D platforming, insane like grapple hooks, bouncing off of balloons, like air dashes, resets. It is a 3D Metroidvania game oftentimes. And so I kind of got that feel. So I'm wondering if I would have bounced off of this at this point now. But it reminded me just how tight the platforming can be in those games. Yes. And so I'm glad to hear it's delivering for you.
And puzzles, some cool puzzles.
Cool puzzles. Okay.
Yeah, some cool puzzles.
How long do you think it's going to take? Are you getting like bigger than you expected kind of vibes?
Nah. Sure. Nah, this don't feel like, so this feels like maybe 10 to 12 hour type jump off. But
we love that.
This doesn't feel like super long.
Okay. Cool beans. Well, Last Case of Benedict Fox is our Game Pass pick of the week. By the time you're listening to this, it will be out. Our review specialist, Lord Cognito, has covered. LordsofGaming.net review there.
We should have it up. I told my guys because we got it late. So I have a rule. I'm like, look, I know the embargo is what the embargo is, so we can give impressions, but I'd rather us finish before we give review. So if we need a day or two, so I'm going to give the grace period for the
LordsofGaming.net, everyone. Go check it out.
Go check it out.
Final question of the show goes to Daniel. Just Daniel.
Just
I thought it was a fitting one. Originally, I had this picked out, but I kept. Sometimes I'll swap out questions, but I kept this one because one direction Microsoft is going is AI, and I thought with our conversation that was going to lead into AI, cloud tech, all that stuff, that this would actually be kind of fitting, incidentally. So Daniel writes, "Hiya, my dukes. I don't like to read. I love audiobooks, but I can't do physical reading. I can't help but read each word one at a time like a silent narrator instead of multiple words/lines at a time. So it just takes too long. This is why in games like Horizon or Fallout, I almost never read any lore material, but I'll scour an area for audio logs. It's also why I can't seem to finish any game where I have to read all the story and dialogue. So in the age of AI, what do you think about developers supplementing actual voice actors with AI for the ancillary lore that I would love to dive into, but can't be bothered to read? Or if game developer Maddie can't afford multiple actors to read dozens of hundreds of hours for his hit game, could an AI be an option? And where would we draw the line? How big of a game would be able to claim they didn't have the budget for voiceovers, so they went with an AI voice? I would love to be able to listen to books or journals in games, but I also don't want actual voice actors to lose opportunities. Thank you for writing in, Daniel. This is a great question here. Do you want to jump this off, or do you want me to?
You jump it off. You jump it off because I know it's close to you as far as obviously you make a game, and obviously
can't escape.
This is a big one. Can't escape it.
It's funny. We're actually, as we're seeking out a publisher, we've laid out. Here's how much money we're going to need to finish this game, and we're going for voice acting. Like that's one of the needs as someone who's writing a kind of thick story. I recognize there's a lot of dialogue here. It'd be kind of nice if you have to just read all of it. So we're going for voice acting. And what's interesting is with SAG-AFTRA, which is like the voice acting. I'm forgetting the word right now, not agency, but I'll use that word for now just to move my point along. They have different budgetary options that give you different rates per voice actors, and obviously our game would qualify for the low budget section. Which means we're guaranteed a certain range of a rate for voice talents, which would inherently make them cheaper. So it kind of makes them affordable for us for voicing our game, where if it ends up being the number we're looking at, we should have a top to bottom voice game. We're, of course, in the learning process, so there's a chance it's more or less. We'll see. But there are good options to get cheap voice acting, but I have the benefit of disposable income that I always say I like to reinvest in what's growing me. So like I reinvest in my game, I reinvest in my channel. That's where my money goes. I don't go and buy a nice car. Like I go and buy talent to make a game.
Facts.
But some developers don't have that. They don't have that disposable income. I think of something like Chained Echoes that came out on Xbox Game Pass back in December. Really great game from what I played. But the point of this is there was no voice acting. And it was made by one person. And the only help they got, I think, were for some of the parallax blueprints, like the pixel art backgrounds that you'd see in the game. And I think some of the concept work, I'm not 100% sure. But I know they got a little bit of contractor help on the art stuff. But everything else was just one person. And not only is it super impressive, but you wonder if, for those little blips of lore, could you benefit from AI? Colin and I have had pretty extensive conversations about this one, and Colin has an interesting school of thought that I consider sometimes that I think old school gamers would appreciate, but I don't know if as a developer I would personally want to do for my games. Is he's of the mindset that when you have a lot of writing in a game, for anyone who's played like a Game Boy Advance game or even a PS2 game, like you kind of create a voice in your head for the character based off the writing. It almost feeds a personality. It's like reading a book, right? You kind of create these personas in your head, and the adventure kind of takes on a life of its own. And when you throw a voice on top of that, at times it goes, "That's not what I expected you to sound like." And the conversation we had that about was Tactics Ogre, where he thinks the voice acting for Tactics Ogre Reborn kind of hurt the game because the writing in that game is superb, but when you add the voice acting on top, it kind of removes that element. For me personally, I think when games have a lot of writing, they almost demand voice acting. And yeah, I just think it's the convenience you do for the player. Like even if you got to tab through like Trails, you got to tab through a lot of dialogue. I'll say this, like the writing in Trails from in the Sky and Zero and Azure is miles better than anything you'll see in Cold Steel ever. But Cold Steel is a lot easier to consume because it's longer with voice acting though. And so it just flies by a little bit more. Where yes, when I sat down to play those early Trails games for Retro Rebound for myself, it was like sitting down and reading a book at night at times. It went on. And when you don't have that voice acting, it hurt. So that's just how I kind of lay out the argument that I am of the mindset, if we can find a way to do AI properly in voice work, I'm not for it. But if we can find it where the talent is comfortable with the approach, that's the sign off I would look for. If the talent's like, no, you're bodying me out of a job, I'm not for that, then it's one of those things where, I'm not going to go for it because there's a human element. It's the same approach I had with the Ubisoft Ghostwriter AI thing. It's like, even in that little, as Daniel used the word, ancillary dialogue that you find of just people bickering at one another on the streets, that is someone's life experience being put into the game. And same thing with performing a role. There is that life experience being put into a game. The problem with your solution, Daniel, is the potential of getting a very human role in one place, and then you hear, and then A924 went through the computer lab, and it's like, and it's just, it sounds like Burger from Grounded, the dude who just kind of like,
Burgle,
that's who it was. Yeah, it kind of sounds like him, right? I know AIs come far where it sounds a little more human. We saw those clips online of like Obama, Trump, Biden just talking shit on the headsets. That's great. Yeah. So we're getting there. I think it could be useful for that stuff, but again, I think you lose the human element. And I think we're a ways away from that. And eventually, I don't think it's going to save developers money like it would now. Like eventually, I just think you're going to, now this is the new service. This is a new premium. You want top of the line AI in your game, for voicing, you got to pay this much money. And I don't think voice talent is ever going to sign off on it because it's going to remove jobs for them. It's like putting the self-checkout lane and just eating up the cash registers. And so I just, I think it's a great idea, Daniel. And as, someone who is making a game, I can't say it seriously anymore. It's been ruined for me. I got years of that left in me.
It. Oh yeah.
It sucks for everyone listening. But, it is tantalizing for sure. But I always say like gaming's an investment and gaming is an art form. And we got to stop trying to expedite parts of the process where the art shines. And like one of them is the writing. One of them is the voice. Every piece of it comes together to make art, but those little pockets of personality are what make up the game. So I think, Daniel, again, great idea. I don't think it's impossible. I think we're trending in that direction. And I think what's going to happen is we'll hear an announcement, sort of something like the Ubisoft Ghostwriter, like some company will do it. They'll stand strong. They'll sneak it into their game and we'll be none the wiser. And then it'll be that aha moment. And I think that's when we'll get it. But otherwise, I do think we're a ways away from it. And I think a lot of VO is going to fight hard against this because they need their bag.
Yeah.
And by the way, last thing.
Please.
These voice actors don't really get paid much in the first place. And, we're not talking like Cal Kestis with Cameron Monaghan probably gets good money, right? With Lucasfilm being involved. It's a Star Wars game. He's also a big time actor. But otherwise, man, like, when you look at voice actor rates versus even the premium ones versus today's Hollywood actors, fucking night and day. It's not even close. Don't get me wrong. The premium voice talent, I don't think in my affordable range. We'll see. I personally am of the mindset I want to. Last point.
No, I love this.
I'm of the mindset it's time to seek out new voices. I like as a JRPG fan, like I love the pre-established. Like I love Ray Chase, Max Middleman, Robbie Damon, Erica Lindbeck, Jeremy Lay. List goes on. These are like superstars. But I think it's also time to seek out new talents. That's one of my goals. Like I want to see, can we find the new talent, because I look at what happened with Fire Emblem did this. It happened in a strange way, but they lost their main voice. I forgot what the exact reason was. I think it was drug related or something, but their main voice for Byleth was lost.
Okay.
And they brought in Zach Aguilar, and the fan base just rallied around this guy. And now he's the voice of, for example, David Martinez in Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Like, amazing performance in that, among many other things. Like, this guy is so good, but that was like his moment. And he was someone at the time, don't get me wrong, but like that was his on the map moment in my eyes, where a lot of attention was brought to him. And I feel like nothing excites a fan base more than, yo, who is this guy? Who is this chick? Who is this? I gotta find out who this is. They're so good. And I want to be the person who, with my game, finds that kind of talent. Because not only is it like when you're climbing up that ladder, it's going to be more affordable at that starting rate, but you have the chance to rise together. That's the goal.
Super dope. Super dope.
So we'll see if we can accomplish it. We got to make sure we can get voice acting once we make sure we get a budget first. But again, I feel relatively confident on that. I should. So, but I'm sorry, I ate up a ton of time there. What are your thoughts on all this?
Pretty much in alignment. Not much we differ from. I think that it's important. I think, look, the techie in me understands that, there will be some level of automation on certain things, and as AI improves. But to me, the key is going to be inflection and personality, with certain things. And, I can see a situation like, one thing I think about is I think about like Mass Effect's one of my favorite games, and there's this thing called the Codex. And in Mass Effect 1, it was narrated beautifully by like a person. You go there, you learn about the Asari, or the Krogan, or and it really gave you the culture of all the alien races. It made me feel, as opposed to sitting there and just reading a block wall of text. Mm-hmm. To be honest, sometimes that is a bit of a turnoff. I remember when Destiny with the Grimoire, Destiny 1 used to do this. Go outside and go read this thing. And, it's a disconnect. So to me, I'm always going to be in the favor of voice acting, especially you have these great stories, great characters to tell. You want to connect. You want that inflection. And I love that kind of stuff. So, I'm always going to be pro that. I'm not going to say there's no place at all. I mean, maybe if you want to give, a shopkeeper in the towns want something, okay, fine. But, I'm always going to be on the side of always the talent, right? The talent is what makes you like a character, love a character, really get passionate. I'm a big, Marvel, obviously, you know what I'm saying? Midnight Suns, so, I love, you see, man, I had to put them up there. They earned their wall. They earned their wall right now. So, I'm a big fan of them, and those characters are really voice acted exceptionally, you know what I'm saying? So they got my man Michael Jai White that plays Blade in the game. He's exceptional. There's so many people. The chick that plays Magic, very dark. And then also, I forgot her name. Oh, the Asian chick, she's so huge. She's got the probability attacks. I'm blanking on her name right now. Excellent voice actress. Excellent. So look, that's where I'm at with it. The industry will change, but I'm going to be pro that. I don't want these guys to completely lose their job. I don't want them to be the self-checkout in gaming, because you need, part of gaming is connection and connecting with a character and why you love that character. And that, to me, is the human voice and inflection. So I'm always going to be pro that.
There we go. Mm-hmm. All right, Cog. That's it. Ooh. Pretty fat DD for sure.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah!
I guess it's time for the hashtag.
We going with the straight block? What we doing?
I think block DD gotta.
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Right. Nice and easy.
So, it's the hottest thing. Yeah, nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening this far into the show. If you want to go ahead and share some of your thoughts, your feelings, your comments, questions, maybe even concerns, you can use the hashtag blockdd over on Twitter. I'm at G27status. Cog is at Lord Cognito. You can find us there. Again, use the hashtag BlockDD. Otherwise, you can go into the comment section. If you don't want to use social media, that's fine. Go to the comment section. Write your thoughts, your feelings. Let us know you got to the end of the episode using the hashtag BlockDD. And with that, Cog, is there anything else you would like to, I don't know why I'm getting this inflection on all of a sudden, but is there anything you would like to get into for the end of our show?
You and your voice acting voice. Yeah, no, we good. It's a massive show, crazy topics, a lot of fun. And stay tuned, man. The next couple of weeks are going to be crazy. Redfall will be in our hands. We got, more games, more deals. Let's see what happens, man. We got a crazy ride this year.
Yes, sir. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week where we'll share thoughts on Redfall, whatever's going on with that. And I don't think it's a far cry to say whatever dark news hits Xbox next week as well.
Dark news.
We'll catch you all on the Duke's Day, Wednesday.
Yeah.
And with that, take great care of yourselves. Well, actually, we record on Wednesdays. We'll see you on Thursday. Just normal Thursday. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, take great care of yourselves. And we will see you next time for episode 122 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.